The NFL on CBS. Today we come to you from Denver, where the Kansas City Chiefs meet the Denver Broncos. AFC West standings, Kansas City 2 games behind Seattle for first place. The Broncos are 4-7. Hi, everybody. Ian Eagle along with Mark May. An emotional win for Kansas City last week in Oakland. They remain in the playoff race in the AFC. For Denver, this is unfamiliar territory. In December, they're used to playing for championships. They're playing for pride now.
They definitely are. We spoke with Neil Smith on Friday. He told us that at this point, we just want to spoil everybody's party that they play.
The Broncos, the Chiefs, it's coming up from Mile High. We'll have the kickoff for you right here on CBS after this word from your local station. Chiefs and the Broncos from Mile High. Denver has won 13 straight home games against AFC West opponents, a streak that dates back to 1995. And the weather, mild, 45 degrees, sunny. It will get colder, though, as the day progresses and the sun sets. Kansas City has won the toss. Denver will kick it off with Jason Elam. To Marek Vanover, the deep man, and he will field from the 7. Vanover straight ahead, middle of the field, and he runs into a crowd shy of the 30-yard line. He was cut down by Detron Smith, and a 22-yard return. Elvis Grbac, in his career, he is 1-2 as a starter against Denver. But Grbac, that confidence is growing. The team is 6-5, and Grbac has had a good season.
And this is the best season of his career. More touchdown passes he's ever thrown. He's completed at 60% or more. To win in the NFL, you've got to complete 60% or more of your passes.
1st and 10, line of scrimmage, the 28. Start off on the ground with Bam Morris getting the call. As he crosses the 30-yard line, he was met by Al Wilson. And a 3-yard gain for Morris. Take a look at the Kansas City offense. Glenn Parker returns to start at left tackle. Parker was nursing a back injury. He replaces John Tate, who will see some action, along with Zott, Grunhard, Will Shields, and Victor Riley on that offensive line. Morris in the starting linebacker at halfback, but we will see the rookie Mike Cloud, Richardson, Alexander, Risen, and Gonzalez. On a 2nd and 7 now from the 31. Play fake. Grbac throwing underneath. It's caught by Alexander. And Derek Alexander picks up 4 yards through the air. A modest gain on 2nd down as he gets it out to the 35. Coghill and Carter combining on the stop. It'll be 3rd and 3. The Denver defense. Maha Tanuvasa, Trevor Price, Keith Traylor, and Neil Smith. Both are former Chiefs. Linebackers, Romanowski, Wilson. He's the rookie out of Tennessee, and Glenn Kadraz. In that secondary, Carter, Coghill, Braxton, and Crockett. On a 3rd and 3, Grbac wants to throw it. He does. A sideline route, and it's Alexander. The Wolverine connection once again. Grbac to Alexander, a 1st down, 10-yard pickup.
An outstanding protection, first of all, on this play, but Elvis Grbac getting set, throwing the ball vertically down, and running an outstanding route. We talk about Elvis Grbac this year. Everybody says there's been a change. Well, the change is they've taken a lot of pressure off of mine. That he doesn't have to conduct the offense. He wants to run the ball first in this offense and throw the ball second.
Keep in mind also, he knows Dale Carter, their former teammates. He worked against him in practice, so he's got a pretty good scouting report on the corner. They'll throw the long ball, test it down the sideline, and it's incomplete. Too high for Kevin Lockett, and he was guarded by Ray Crockett. Elvis Grbac has not had to deal with a quarterback controversy this year like in the past with Rich Gannon. Warren Moon has been the definitive backup, and that might be part of the reason why Grbac has been more comfortable.
And I think he's more relaxed at the position. He's got more confidence, not only in himself, but the teammates around him have more confidence in him. He knows he's the guy. There's nobody looking over his shoulder this year.
There has been no quarterback carousel in Kansas City. There has been, though, here in Denver. We'll get into that later. On a 2nd and 10, dump it off. Bam Morris hurdling a tackler and crossing midfield, remaining on his feet. Ball was stripped loose. Kansas City surrounded it. And the Chiefs will have it. Morris tried to do a little bit extra, and it almost cost him. Injury on the field for Denver.
Take another look at it, but Bam Morris doing the extra. A big back, 255 pounds. They just ricochet off him, tries to get the extra yardage, and the old guy right there, Bill Romanowski, in on the tackle, but stripping the ball loose is Glenn Kadraz of the defense.
As they deal with the injury, we'll give you the name of the person when we come back. Denver's free safety George Coghill was able to walk off the field on his own power. Coghill making his second start at free safety for the injured Eric Brown, out for the season with a right knee injury. This is third and a long one from the 47 of Denver, trying to spill it up the middle. Donnell Bennett, did he get enough? He had to cross the 46-yard line and inch it closer to the 45. It will depend on the spot. Maha Tanuvasa made the stop, and it looks to be short. They will measure it as Bennett got the call.
And what I don't understand about this for Donnell Bennett, you're 250 pounds, slam the ball in there, don't go airborne. That's what cost him the first down. If he puts his shoulder pads down and pushes the pile, they get the first down.
Bennett didn't have enough, and Kansas City is forced to punt.
They get a good ace block in the middle right there. Put your shoulders down, get the first down. Do not go airborne. If you go airborne, you lose all of your leverage.
Tell you what, even by going airborne, he was fortunate that he got pushed forward. He could have been pushed back for a loss of 1 or 2. You're right. Daniel Pope will punt it to the rookie Chris Watson. Watson will allow it to bounce. As it does, it was fielded right near the goal line by Eric Warfield, but it led him to the back into the end zone and a touchback. Denver Broncos coming off their bye week. They have won 8 of their 10 games coming off the bye week during this decade. And the Broncos offense will have the football for the first time this afternoon as the defense stopped Kansas City just about a foot short of a first down and a chance for the Chiefs to continue that drive. This will be a 1st and 10 for Denver after the touchback from the 20. Gary and Griffith are in the backfield in movement before the snap. Came from the left side of that Kansas City defensive line, and Chester McLaughlin. Was he egged on is the question. And our referee today is Ron Blum.
Encroachment, 75 defense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
And that's just excitement. At the beginning of the game, you want to get off the ball. You want to make something happen. There goes Chester McLaughlin. The backfield moves, but the backfield can move. He can't move until the guy in front of him moves or the ball snapped.
It will cost Kansas City 5 yards. So Denver already moving the football without a play. On a 1st and 5 now from the 25. Brian Griese stepping forward, throwing, wide open McCaffrey. Ed McCaffrey is brought down at the 45-yard line by Patton and Hasty. A 20-yard pass play and a first down for Denver. And a strong way to start out offensively.
Great protection, that's where it all starts. But Ed McCaffrey, 6'4", runs a great route. Right here, James Hasty's playing soft. He sees he's playing soft, makes his turn, turns to the outside. It's just a read play. That's a first down for the Denver Broncos. That's a solid play, first play out of the offense, out of the box for Brian Griese.
He is not a possession receiver only anymore. McCaffrey is a double threat. He can get deep on you. He's sneaky. Once again, movement. And Griese could not handle the snap initially. Tom Bart, the other defensive tackle, may have moved on that play. So we'll hear from Ron Blum again. We'll see if it's the same call.
Encroachment, 71 defense, 5 yards, repeat first down.
It is Bart.
And I'll tell you what, Brian Griese bobbed his head and moved his shoulders just before the ball was snapped. And that kind of drew Bart off, but they got Tom Bart on this play.
So first it was McLaughlin, now it's Bart. And once again, Denver will face a 1st and 5. The ball spotted at the 50. Griffith shifts over, and Griese wants to throw it. In the pocket, plenty of time once again. McCaffrey, a big gainer. Spilled down at the 29-yard line. He picked up 22. Griese to McCaffrey on back-to-back plays.
And McCaffrey's such a big target. He gets a little shielding on the play from Dwayne Carswell, the tight end. They've got both receivers in the same area. But Ed McCaffrey on the outside, a little push-off. There's Carswell. Finds a little pocket, settles in there, catches the ball. Another first down for the Denver Broncos. This is a team that Gunther Cunningham told us he's afraid of this team because they're dangerous. They have nothing to lose. They will throw the ball.
42 yards of total offense, all of them to McCaffrey on 2 catches. On the ground, it's Gary, the rookie, trying to get off tackle on the left side, and it wasn't working. A 1-yard pickup, and Derek Thomas made the stop. Griese's making his first start since Halloween. He did play 2 weeks ago in that victory over Oakland in overtime. He played in a reserve role. replacing Chris Miller. And Greasy, this is a time that Denver can use to evaluate the future and whether or not Mike Shanahan can trust Greasy with the offense.
And not only that, Mike Shanahan wants to find out if you're the quarterback of the future, you have to prove it on the football field.
On 2nd and 9, Garrett had a hole initially, but Kansas City with good pursuit. And Donnie Edwards in particular to hold Gary to a 1-yard gain. Take a look at the Denver offense right now. And Tony Jones returning to the lineup at left tackle despite that elbow injury. Schlereth, Nalen, Neal, and Lepsis, the rest of the offensive line. It's a talented group. Backs and receivers. Gary is on pace to gain over 1,000 yards as a rookie, replacing Terrell Davis in just 12 games. Griffith, McCaffrey, Rod Smith, Dwayne Carswell, the rest of the starters. This will be a 2 tight end set on a 3rd and 8. Loville is now in the game. They will throw it underneath the coverage. And Rod Smith with his first catch of the afternoon, but he comes up short of a first down. So the Denver field goal unit will come onto the field and try to put the Broncos on the board first. And Mike Shanahan, in his 6th year as a head coach in the NFL, 5th with Denver, and this is not what he's accustomed to in the month of December.
Well, they had instant success, and I was a part of this in the Washington Redskins in the early 80s. Joe Gibbs' first year 8-8, then 2 years after that go to the Super Bowl back-to-back, and that's what he's created. He's created a monster here. The fans and the team, they expect to go to the playoffs in the Super Bowl.
Kicks away, Joe. A 39-yard field goal attempt, and Jason Elam able to bang it through. Denver takes a 3-0 lead here in the first. It was Greasy to McCaffrey on back-to-back plays to set it up. Gunther Cunningham, Mike Shanahan. There is a connection here. Cunningham seriously considered a move to Denver and becoming the defensive coordinator under Shanahan back in '95 when he eventually got the job as defensive coordinator under Marty Schottenheimer here with the Kansas City Chiefs.
But so close that Gunther could have been a Denver Bronco.
Absolutely.
And you look at these rivalries in the AFC West, this is a rivalry, but it's almost a friendly rivalry because they know each other so well.
Return man is Vanover after the field goal from Elam. Takes the kickoff across the 20, but then just runs into a number of Denver special teamers as he comes up just shy of the 25. Coming up tonight on CBS, how did line of scrimmage will be the 25 on a 1st and 10. Morris and Richardson are in the backfield for Kansas City, trailing 3-0. Off of play action, Gerback dropped. Good pass. It appeared as if Lockett should have had it. Incomplete.
He should have. That's just concentration on Kevin Lockett. You've got to catch the ball first and then run with it. Here it appears he's looking at the ball, but he's not looking it all the way into his hands, and that is a Kevin Lockett mistake. They need this in their offense to complete those passes on 1st down. Takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback and the rest of the offense.
Lockett has really emerged as their number 2 receiver, with Andre Rison kind of settling into that 3rd man role, and Joe Horn seeing more action as a receiver as well. 2nd and 10 now from the 25. A deep drop, and here come the Broncos trying to set up the screen for Richardson. And Tony Richardson able to accelerate across the 30-yard line for a pickup of 9. Traylor and Neal Smith collaborated on the stop.
But what a pretty job of acting by the offensive line and Elvis Gerback, setting the screen up, looking down the field first of all, letting the defense come to him, but great hustle on the defense by Keith Traylor and Neal Smith, the ex-Chiefs, of making the tackle. But the big offensive line for the Chiefs out in front, throwing blocks, Grunhard out there, Zott out there. That's how you run a screen, picture perfect.
A long one. That's what Kansas City needs for a 1st down. Similar situation to their first drive of the afternoon. Gonzalez and Johnson, double tight end set. On 3rd down, Gerback flushed out of the pocket underneath the coverage, and they come up well short. Bill Romanowski with the stick, and he had something to say to Tony Gonzalez after the play. Romanowski is swinging. He's going nuts, and he better watch himself.
Now he's fired up. The first time they met in the first game, Romanowski held Gonzalez to only 2 catches for 24 yards. They got into it in that game. Few punches were thrown. A lot of words were said. This is going to be one of the better matchups to see. Elvis Gerback does not have to get flushed out of the pocket. Here it is. There's no pressure. Stay in the pocket and throw the ball. Runs to his right. There he is. Romanowski on the spot. That's a clean hit, aggressive hit. Beautiful football.
Don't like what you see, though, after the play. Romanowski is swinging his arms, and yes, he's excited, but
that's Tony. And you can't do that in the NFL, but the play was great. He read the play, aggressive hit, but you can't be crazy after the play and flail your arms like that because you're inciting problems.
And there is a flag on the play. It's on the far side.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
There it is.
Kansas City bench. 15 yards. Still fourth down.
Kansas City bench came to the defense of Gonzalez after that play. And it came way after the play, so they're not redoing third down. It's fourth down.
And you're right, Ian. This is the reaction to what happens after the play by Bill Romanowski. And this penalty should be on Romanowski for taunting the Kansas City bench and Tony Gonzalez.
Here's Daniel Pope. Gets it away, but it's a low line drive. Chris Watson able to field it. From the 33, Watson looking for a hole as he gets ahead to the 43. And some pushing and shoving now taking place in this AFC West showdown. 49-yard punt, a 10-yard return. And Ron George made the play on special teams. There's a flag all the way back at the other side of the field at the 16-yard line, just in the area where Kansas City was punting. It's against Denver. So Ron Blum will sort things out, get the number of the special teams player, and then update us.
Well, the kick was in the air. 82 of the receiving team. Holding. The penalty is enforced from the spot where possession changed. Timeout.
So Billy Miller is called on the hold. But it is assessed on the possession. So Denver will move back in their 3-0. Denver has the lead on Kansas City with 6:19 to play in the first quarter after the hold was called on the punt. The ball is spotted at the 24-yard line. Preceding that was a play on the sideline with Bill Romanowski and Tony Gonzalez, where Romanowski just lost it and actually got away with one, what could have been called a taunting penalty, but it was not. In fact, it was Kansas City called on the unsportsmanlike conduct. On 1st and 10 now for Greasy. Plenty of time throwing through the hands of the intended receiver, Rod Smith. And incomplete. Fortunate for Denver that it was not intercepted. Let's take another look. Romanowski and Gonzalez.
Romanowski, it's a clean play at the end of the play, but here at the end of the play, Romanowski's fired up. Somebody hits him in the helmet. Once you start throwing punches and hitting each other, at very least, there should be offsetting penalties. Bill Romanowski started it. He was the one that he won this battle. If you look at it in his eyes, he's saying, hey, I was over there, got a big hit, got him fired up, but he got one away from Kansas City on that play.
Arms started flailing, and that's when Ralph Tam got involved. On a handoff, spinning away, Gary. And Olandis Gary comes up just shy of the 30-yard line for a pickup of 5. Derek Thomas will be given credit for the tackle. It'll be 3rd and 5 for Denver with the clock moving here in the first.
And there are a lot of things I like about Olandis Gary. One is running style. He patterns his running style a little bit after a couple of pretty good running backs. At Georgia, he followed the footsteps of a lot of good ones. But what I like about him is his attitude. Because it's just another game. AFC West rival, we have them all the time. Everybody's a rival to us because we're the defending champions. You know, this guy's going to be a leader of this football team down the road.
How's he going to play ahead of Terrell Davis, though, is the question. Greasy throwing, and it's incomplete. There was some contact, no flag, and McCaffrey wanted to see a marker, and Eric Warfield was there defensively in that nickel package.
We'll take another look at it. But McCaffrey's the go-to guy, obviously, for Brian Greasy thus far in this game. Runs a clean route. Here he makes his break to the inside. Well, they're letting him play out there. I'd say Eric Warfield won that battle. They're letting him play. There was a push-off on the play, but the officials are letting him play.
Pass was too high anyway. Didn't appear to be catchable for McCaffrey as Ruin just gets it off. Vanover backpedals, able to field it cleanly from the 11. Vanover with a flag down, trying to get to the outside. And the Denver special teams unit was all over it, including Al Wilson, who got him on the far side. But as mentioned, a marker on the field. A 60-yard punt from Tom Ruin. Longest for him this season is 65. And I'll tell you what, Mark, the mile-high altitude does not hurt a punter.
Doesn't hurt a punter, but it hurts me. I walked up the steps from the field earlier today, and I'm in fairly good shape. By the time I got to the top of the steps, I was huffing and puffing. My lungs were burning.
I knew there was a problem when you were leaning on me in the booth and all 240 pounds of you.
Well, the kick was in the air. Holding. 84 of the receiving team. Penalties enforced from the spot where possession changed. Half the distance to the goal. First down, Kansas City. Timeout.
Kansas City having a tough time getting started in this game. It's emotional, yes. It always is in the AFC West. A rough start for Gunther Cunningham's squad. Penalties. Last year, the most penalized team in the NFL. This season, 84th. Fourth most in the league today. They've been called on 4 penalties. On a 1st and 10, Gerback rolling out of trouble and finding Tony Gonzalez for a first down. 15 yards, and that quiets this mile-high crowd.
And this is what Elvis Gerback's gotten better. His decision-making, throwing the ball to his tight end, Tony Gonzalez. Tied for the lead in the NFL, coming in with receptions for a tight end. But pressured by the blitz of Glenn Kadarius on the play. But Elvis Gerback was calm and cool under pressure, delivers the ball for the first down.
On a 1st and 10 now from the 22. Mike Cloud, the running back, sets up as a receiver in the slot. Handoff. Tony Richardson trying to emerge through a hole. And he is able to gain 3 on the play as Harold Hasselback was the first man to get there. Mark, an ugly scene here 2 weeks ago on Monday night, that overtime game against Oakland where fans were unruly at this mile-high stadium. Snowball throwing incident. 385 security guards on hand here today. And really the key, no snow.
It did snow on Friday and Saturday, but luckily the snow's melted, the sun's come out, and we've got a great crowd here this afternoon.
On a 2nd and 7, Gerback sideline throw and complete to Andre Rison. Rison out of bounds at the 34-yard line, and he picked up 10. Another first down for the Chiefs.
There's one thing that I can say about Andre Rison this year. In the past with Andre Rison, everybody said he was a troublemaker if he wasn't getting the ball. Now he's finally accepted his role. He does start games, but he's more of a role player now. When they need a play out of him, they go to him and they get him. And I think he's matured at this point in his career that he's finally decided and accepted this is my position.
On a 1st and 10 now from the 35. Gerback on a give. Here's Bam Morris spinning his way ahead and crossing the 35-yard line for a gain of 1. Darius Johnson, first man there to make the stop for Denver. Rotating running backs for the Kansas City Chiefs. It has been by committee, and last week Mike Cloud, the player you see all the way on the right of your screen, emerged as a possible go-to guy for Gunther Cunningham.
Well, they have to get him the ball. They're not going to start him because he's a rookie. Gunther does not like to start rookies until at least they've been seasoned for a while, but he will get into the game and get his carries.
Cloud had 11 carries last week, 58 yards. His best game as a pro. Able to dump it off for Bam Morris, releasing out of the backfield and extending his arms for a pickup of 2.5. Stop made by Maha Tanuvasa.
And this play's all Bam Morris from start to finish. They run a stunt on the inside. All the way around comes Keith Traylor, but Bam Morris comes out of the backfield and nails him, knocks him right on his can, then catches the ball and picks up positive yardage. Boom! Right there, knocks him on his backside, turns around, catches the ball, runs it up for positive yardage.
If you're Traylor, you're expecting to see a normal-sized halfback there.
He's not normal.
255 pounds. On a 3rd and 6, 3-receiver set. Gerback taking his time and throwing. Complete. Out to the far side, and Joe Horn. First down into Denver territory at the 45-yard line. They picked up 16.
And Joe Horn does a little push-off on the play, but this is a nice route. Waiting out the route, Elvis Gerback runs down the field, looks back for his quarterback, right there, makes the move to the outside, a nice spin move, and he's wide open. That's a perfect route. You can't ask for anything more of a wide receiver because he got the separation on his move.
Torrey James, the defensive back on that play, has to respect the speed of Joe Horn, and I think that's why he bit.
He's a guy that can definitely stretch the defense, and that's why they use him in this offense to go deep.
On 1st and 10 from the 45. A hole for Donnell Bennett, putting the helmet down, and he's tackled at the 25. Will Shields, the right guard, laid out a terrific block for Bennett, and that helped spring him loose for a pickup of 18.
Talking about running with a vengeance on offense. Both of these big backs, Bam Morris, Donnell Bennett, when they get the football, you better bring a bunch of tacklers because they're not going to go down by the first guy. They're going to go down with the 2nd and 3rd guy, and they're going to drag you along and get extra yardage.
Donnell Bennett has 7 touchdowns this season and has been very hot of late. Scored that 7th touchdown last week. Now 5 touchdowns in his last 5 games. And Bennett is another player who has accepted a role here in Kansas City, and one that really isn't defined as a halfback or as a fullback. Gunther Cunningham telling him, hey, just be ready for anything.
And the backs that they use, they want to pound the football, and they've got big backs to do it. Then they bring in the speedy little Mike Cloud. He can go the distance. He's got the moves to do it, but Gunther Cunningham, the head coach, loves to pound the football. And Donnell Bennett, he can find the end zone.
Injury is to Ray Crockett. Earlier, George Coghill was slow to get up, but he did return to action. Crockett looks a little bit woozy now as they walk him off the field. Crockett is number 39, and he was underneath Neil Smith, amongst others, in that pile.
That's one thing about the little guys on the outside. They should play a little smarter than that. They know when those 300-pounders fly down the field, get out of the way.
What are you going to do, though? You get stuck in the middle of that pile. You don't really have a choice if you're Ray Crockett.
Darryl Green from the Washington Redskins, a future Hall of Famer, told me a long time ago when I played with him, I'll play contain. I'll stay in the back. Right. Don't worry about it. They're not going to score. I back contain.
And how many years has he been in the league?
He's still in the league now. He's 40 years old.
Torrey James has replaced Crockett at cornerback. Off the play fake. Gerback on a pump fake, in trouble, throwing. Was he in the grass because a flag comes down? Trevor Price came firing in. And Price instructing the officials to do the right thing, according to him. Gerback tried to get rid of it.
Intentional grounding, 18 offense. The ball is placed at the spot of the foul. Loss of down, second down.
So Elvis Gerback just waited a little bit too long, and it cost him with a penalty.
Tremendous pressure by the Chiefs up front. Talking to Neil Smith, he said, hey, that's our forte. That's what we do best. Fighting through the blockers right on the outside. You'll see right there, big old 93, Trevor Price fighting through the double team, and Elvis Gerback cannot get the ball off. First, when you're pressured, he's not a speedy quarterback. When he sees the blue jersey and off-colored jersey, get rid of the football. You're not going to outrun him.
Does not count as a sack, but they are moved back 14 yards on a 2nd and 24 from the 40, and they just got one of those yards back with Bam Morris. Keith Traylor making the tackle. They've had injuries, this Denver team, all over the place. Alfred Williams on the defensive line, a player that they rely upon. Of course, the injury to Terrell Davis. This team started out 0-4. They have played good football since then. They are 4-3, and Mike Shanahan just wants his team to keep that goal in mind. They're still talking playoffs. They're not mathematically out of it at 4-7. Gerback under pressure, and he is devoured. Neil Smith, the former Chief.
And they overloaded the offensive right, the defensive left side. They went with 3 big players on the outside. There's Smith, obviously, in the middle. They roll to the outside. They run a pick stunt. Here comes the big guy, Trevor Price, to the outside. Neil Smith comes to the inside. All it is a TE, a tackle in stunt. Kansas City can't pick it up. Neil Smith gets the sack.
So it looked like Kansas City had a good chance to put some points on the board. Instead, on 4th down, Daniel Pope is on the field. Chris Watson will allow it to bounce. It takes a roll and out of bounds inside the 5. So Pope has done his job. And that will be the final play of the first quarter. Broncos with a 3-0 lead on Kansas May, with you for a Mile High Stadium, our entire CBS crew, as we start playing the second quarter. 3-0 is the score. Next Saturday.
What will communications be when it finally grows up? Satellite? Broadband, wireless, fiber optic. With technologies from Agilent, communications can grow up to be whatever it wants to be. Let's see what this baby can do.
Honey, I'm going to Staples to pick up a few gifts. Be back soon.
Attention shoppers, looking for the perfect gift? Well, check out aisle 3 for great prices on Sharp mobile organizers. And save on Panasonic phones. No, not you! You, yes. And I, or any husband, would love one of those nice global chairs. I need a leather one! Get a leather chair!
For great gift ideas and over 7,000 items at guaranteed low prices at Staples. Yeah, we've got that.
The GMC Convoy 2000 is here. Trucks with capabilities that will change the way you look at the road. Professional-grade pickups, SUVs, and family vans. Designed better than they need to be. Like the incredibly smooth-riding 2000 GMC Jimmy, an SUV with a full-length steel frame, its backbone. Now get $2,000 cash back when you purchase select 2000 Jimmy models. GMC. Do one thing, do it well.
What a week on Dave with Farrah Fawcett, Will Smith, Julia Roberts, Stupid Human Tricks, and Monday, don't miss Harrison Ford and David Bowie.
13 14:20 to go until halftime, and Mike Shanahan's defense now will have to face a challenge. Great field position for Kansas City to start this drive. A 1st and 10 at the Denver 43 following that late hit on special teams. Motion man is Cloud. Inside handoff. It goes to Tony Richardson. And Richardson able to get across the 40-yard line for a pickup of 5. Glenn Cadrez with a tackle. Let's get an NFL Today report. We head to New York and Jim Nantz.
All right, Ian, we're going to stay in the AFC West. Let's see how Seattle's rebounding from its loss to the Bucs last week. Well, not all that good. Tim Brown catches the pass from Gannon. Raiders up 10-0 as they start the second quarter. Let's go back to you.
Seahawks are coming back to the pack in this division. They currently have a 2-game lead on Kansas City. On a 2nd and 5. Straight up the middle. Tony Richardson remaining on his feet. And he's tackled at the 24. Al Wilson making the stop. And a 14-yard burst for Richardson, who's the fullback who does not get many carries over the course of a season.
It's just power running right in the middle. A great cutoff block by Will Shields in the middle, and his center just pushing the pile back. But the big backs, Tony Richardson, Donnell Bennett, Van Morris just pounding the middle of the Denver defense.
And the longest run of his career, 14 yards. A 1st and 10 at the 24. Gerback stepping forward to the pocket and throwing. Incomplete. Tony Gonzalez trying to make a sliding catch, and Darius Johnson was there defensively to take on the tight end.
The key to Tony Gonzalez, why he helps the offense so much, he can run the out patterns, he can settle in the middle, but what's key about him, his speed. He can stretch the defense down the middle. Linebackers can't cover him. Safeties aren't big enough to handle him.
How many tight ends can go 73 yards on a touchdown? Tony Gonzalez did it last week.
Not many in the NFL.
Has a career-high 5 touchdowns this season. Last week, 3 catches, 90 yards. Handoff, Cloud with a burst, accelerating across the 20 as he picked up 4.5. Coghill and Wilson combining to make the tackle. It'll be 3rd down.
It's the interior 3 of the offensive line. Dave Zott, Tim Grunhard, Will Shields, all the coaches are raving about him. Mike Cloud knows where to foul these guys when the ball's handed off. He had an outstanding game last week. He told Gunther Cunningham after the game, give me the ball 15 times in a game and you'll never put me on the bench. Well, last week he had it 11, had a big game close to 60 yards.
Ray Crockett has returned for the Denver defense as Kansas City was trying to get to the line of scrimmage.
Timeout, Denver.
Timeout was taken.
Team timeout.
So a timeout called by the Broncos. Kansas City is driving, trailing 3-0 here in the second quarter.
Let's go safely, go Mike.
Pretty day here in Denver, Colorado. We're at Mile High Stadium, where the Broncos lead the Chiefs 3-0. Second quarter, Kansas City, though, on the move on a 3rd and 6 at the Denver 20. John Tate is now in there at left tackle. Gerback throwing. Sideline caught. Kevin Lockett brought it in at the 12-yard line. They needed 6, and they got 8. 1st down, Kansas City.
Elvis Gerback's done an outstanding job this season of spreading the ball around. And on the outside, Kevin Lockett, great move, inside, outside, a nice double move. Gets open. You've got to get close to these wide receivers. Torrey James respects the speed, but you've got to stay close when it's 3rd and you're going for the 1st down in the red area. You can't give that much cushion.
7 different Kansas City receivers have made catches so far today. Gerback is spreading the wealth on a 1st and 10 from the 13, and Gerback is forced to take a timeout. Looked to be some confusion. He was asking one of his teammates to go in motion. And timeout called by Kansas City. Stops the clock with 1st half. You know, Gunther Cunningham relishes these matchups with the Denver Broncos. Since 1995, that's when Gunther came aboard on the Kansas City coaching staff defensively. Chiefs have held Denver to 20 points or fewer in 6 of the 10 meetings they've had. And Cunningham brought that number up to us in our meeting with him yesterday. He's proud of that number because obviously this Denver offense with Elway and Davis has been so explosive to temper it.
Well, when you're a good coach in the NFL, and he was a great defensive coordinator and still is a heck of a head coach, you always want to play against the great teams. The Molly Putts is out there you can knock off every week, but the good teams with the John Elways and Terrell Davis, that's your measuring stick. And if you play well against those teams, you can play well against anyone.
Elvis Gerback has had a strong day. On the draw play for Cloud. He is rolled over just shy of the 10-yard line. Ray Crockett in on the stop. He picked up 3. It'll be 2nd and 7.
What's key about both of these teams on both sides of the ball, there's still a lot of fight in both teams. Down the field of play, you see wide receivers blocking defensive backs down the field of play, offensive linemen getting an extra push, linebackers coming in with an extra shot. This is a rivalry game. One side of the team, they're not mathematically eliminated, the Denver Broncos, and Mike Shanahan told us that, but he said, realistically, we're just taking it one game at a time.
On a 2nd and 7. Kansas City looking for their first points of the day. Gerback throwing to the end zone. Touchdown, Tony Gonzalez. Chiefs take the lead in the 2nd quarter.
And I'm with Tony Gonzalez. You want to create a mismatch. Well, Tony Gonzalez and a rookie covering him, and Al Wilson, the middle linebacker, that does not mesh. Tony Gonzalez will go right down the field of play, right in the middle, a simple post pattern. They've got the rookie on him, Al Wilson. He can't keep up with him, just not fast enough. Like I said before, too fast for linebackers, too big for safeties.
And Gonzalez, who played basketball at Cal, still knows how to dunk, apparently. Here's the extra point for Pete Stoyanovich. He tacks it on, and Kansas City has the 7-3 edge. 10:15 to play here in the 2nd quarter. Matchup in the AFC West. Kansas City in front. His 6th touchdown of the season. 10 yards. Gerback to Gonzalez in the back of the end zone, and Kansas City has taken a 7-3 lead. The Chiefs have doubled the offensive output of Denver so far. 138 total yards for Kansas City, 65 for the Broncos. Chris Watson waits the kickoff from Pete Stoyanovich. Kickoffs have been a problem for Kansas City. They brought in Scott Bentley. He didn't do the job, and Stoyanovich once again takes on that role. It's very short. 15. He catches in stride. Here's Watson. With a burst of speed, he tried to move through a hole as he gets ahead to the 34-yard line. 19-yard return for the rookie, Reggie Tung, with the tackle. The 12 days of Christmas on CBS continue with your favorite holiday classics, ice skating superstars, all new musical specials, and a Hallmark Hall of Fame event. Plus, don't miss Frosty the Snowman and Frosty Returns. This Tuesday, it's great holiday entertainment all this week here on CBS. You see the ball control so far. Kansas City has been able to run the football effectively. Denver still looking for a rhythm offensively. Double tight end set on a 1st and 10 from the 34. Greasy able to make the connection. Dwayne Carswell making the catch, and then he is forced backwards. And again, these two teams getting into one another's faces after the 6-yard reception. Marcus Patton with a tackle. Let's get an NFL Today report to New York and Jim Nantz.
Well, Ian, you never know that Rich Gannon had been listed as questionable this week with a thigh injury. He's thrown his 2nd touchdown of the 2nd quarter, both of them to Tim Brown. 17-0 Raiders. Let's go back to Ian and Mark.
And how huge is that in relation to this game, as Kansas City is trying to inch closer to the division lead on Seattle, currently trailing by 2 games. Greasy airing it out down the sideline, and it's incomplete. McCaffrey became the defensive back, and Hasty became the receiver.
And that ball fluttered up there, and the reason why the blitz of the safety, Jerome Woods, comes through the middle of the offensive line and puts pressure on Brian Greasy. You're going to see it to your right. He's going to come on a late safety blitz. What he does is he reads first, and he comes in late. Bam, right there. It's Brian Greasy as he's about to throw the ball.
Greasy came up limping a bit following that play. It was McLaughlin, as Mark mentioned, getting to that backfield area. And Brian Greasy is very fortunate that James Hasty did not have his 7th interception of the season. This is a 3rd and 4. Line of scrimmage just shy of the 40. McCaffrey, the motion man. Greasy, deep drop. And he is dumped. Back of the 27-yard line, Leslie O'Neal able to get into the backfield, and the veteran has his 3rd sack of the year.
And Leslie O'Neal, he's like the Pied Piper, the defensive front. He's been around for a long time. His 130th career sack. And I talked to Kirk Schottenheimer. He said with Leslie O'Neal, you're only going to get a limited number of plays with Leslie, but all of them are going to be quality. And he still has a lot left in the tank. Right there, just beats the offensive tackle, Matt Leftis, to the outside.
O'Neal now has 14.5 career sacks against the Broncos. Ruin. Another high punt, wobbly. Vanover couldn't handle it initially, but picks it up from the 20. Vanover is dumped down at the 29-yard line by Detron Smith. And you can feel an obvious shift in this game with Kansas City leading it 7-3 and getting the football back. The last 3 drives for the Denver Broncos, they have gone 3 and out on all 3 possessions.
And what's key is Gunther Cunningham, when he first got the head job, he said, I want ground superiority. I want to stop the run and run the football and control the clock. That's exactly what he's done this year, and that's what he's doing today.
In addition, the other motivation, the Chiefs need just 1 win to join San Francisco and Buffalo as the only clubs in the 90s with 100 victories. We'll get more into that as the afternoon rolls on. Donnell Bennett straight ahead for 3 yards. Glenn Cadrez and Dale Carter, the former Chief, combining on the stop. And Cunningham made mention of that to us yesterday and really pounded the point home how proud he is of that number. 99 victories in the 90s and a chance to make it 100 today.
And that's big time. When I played for the Washington Redskins, we went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them in the 80s. We won a lot of games, but we weren't able to win 100 games in a decade. And only very few teams have done that. And that's pride. That's pride for Gunther Cunningham and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Play action. Gerback throwing the long ball. Will a flag come down? It was incomplete. Carter dealing with Derek Alexander, and they got tied up.
That wasn't a tie-up, Ian. Right at the end of the play, Dale Carter pushed off. That should be a penalty. Both of them were fighting down the field to play, but before the ball got there, that was a push-off.
Former teammates Carter and Alexander. Penalty flag.
And we talked to Elvis Gerback. He told us that we're going to take our shots against Dale Carter. There's some things that he does. Right here, the push-off with the hand. That's a penalty, Kansas City. Penalty for Kansas City on Denver. I believe it wasn't called, but usually when you're down the field of play, if there's any type of contact, they're going to throw the flag. But as I said before, they're letting the wide receivers and the defensive backs get physical in play.
Play clock has run out, and flags come down. And it ran out by about 4 seconds. It was sitting at 0, and Gerback looked up.
Delay game offense, 5 yards, repeat 3rd down.
And that's where Elvis has got to be an actor. If you see that clock, snap the ball. Take your chance and throw the ball downfield. If you see it's down to 0, take a shot at it. But he's done a good job of working the offense today, running the ball inside, play action pass. When you talk about Elvis Gerback, one thing that impresses me, he's probably the 2nd best play action pass quarterback in the NFL. First one, Peyton Manning.
You know, Elvis was known more as a singer, not really an actor. Gerback will throw the long ball again. Joe Horn, he had separation, but it's incomplete. Torrey James one-on-one, and Horn had his man beat. But because the Denver defense was coming, Gerback had to get rid of it quickly.
And there's pressure on Elvis Gerback, but he hangs tough in the huddle, and he just beats Torrey James like a dusty rug. This should be a completion. Takes a little bit off the pass. It is a touchdown. He gets hit in the face right there, but stays in the pocket, stands tall, and gets rid of the football.
Trevor Price was able to get into the face of Elvis Gerback and apply that pressure. Here's Pope. Chris Watson, the return man, a high punt. Watson fair catch signal, and he brings it in at the 26. 48-yard punt, no return. Here in the second quarter, 7:39 left. Chiefs doing battle. Kansas City looking for the season sweep. KC leads the all-time series with a mark of 44-35, and right now they lead this one 7-3. Broncos football, a 1st and 10 at the 27. Derek Loville is in the backfield, and he will get the carry. Loville running in between the tackles and getting ahead to about the 30-yard line. He picked up 2.5. Tackle made by Eric Hicks. And the clock is moving with 7:25 to play until halftime.
And Derek Loville's so important to this offense, and his importance on Olandis Gary, the rookie. And Olandis Gary told him, hey, he's a guy, this is my coach. He's my second coach. When he was injured, he traveled with the team. He was always over my shoulder telling me what to do right, what to do wrong, how to read defenses. And you need those type of veteran players and leadership on every football team to have success.
This is a 2nd and 8. And it's Loville making the catch. Trying to cut it to the outside, and he was met by Marvcus Patton. Patton had a tremendous hit last week in that game against Oakland against Tyrone Wheatley, and he was licking his chops for a shot at Derek Loville.
And Patton's a tremendous tackler. He averaged 177 tackles a year the last 4 years. Open field, one-on-one with the running back. He breaks down, bends his knees, right there, explosion with the hips, and makes the tackle.
That is a loss of 2 on the play, so let's call it 3rd and 10 now. Back at the original line of scrimmage, which was the 27. Patton came over from Washington, as did Chris Dishman. Both signed as free agents, and both have helped this defense. Kansas City had to replace Dale Carter, who left for Denver. Greasy. He is dumped down. Back at the 18-yard line, Hasty on a corner blitz.
And that was too easy for the defense and James Hasty. Brian Greasy has to read the defense. James Hasty did not disguise this blitz. He walks up to the line of scrimmage, stands there, looking right at the quarterback. He's going to come around here, make the sack. No one picks him up. No one looks at him. Derek LaVille tries to get there late. Way too late.
Now 4 straight 3-and-outs for the Denver offense. On 4th down, here's Tom Rowan. He's had a heck of a day punting the football. To Mark Vanover, allows it to bounce, and it will take a Denver roll all the way down to the 20-yard line. Man, 60-yard punt. Ruin's got a big smile on his face. We've seen punts of 60, 60, 59. And Tom Ruin is certainly doing his job here today.
I know one thing about Phil Simms. He's never had a bicep that big. No, that wasn't his own.
No, they didn't take that off the analyst. Out to the sideline, and Kevin Lockett. He's forced out of bounds just shy of the 30-yard line. Picked up 8 on the play. Kansas City did not have tremendous field position because of the ruined punt, but the Chiefs are driving, thanks in large part to Gunther Cunningham's running game. A pounding attack up the middle, and he can come at you so many different angles, whether it's Richardson or Bennett or Morris or Mike Cloud, who's currently on the field. Cloud was just waiting for his chance. He remained patient. The rookie out of Boston College on 2nd and 1. Tony Richardson getting the call, and Neil Smith making the tackle. Didn't get it.
9 in the backfield, they switch responsibilities. Mike Cloud was the fullback, and then they switched guys in the backfield. And Mike Cloud's not a blocker. He lined up in the fullback position. But old Neil Smith, I'll tell you what, he can still bring it. And Mike Shanahan told us about him. He said he told Neil Smith before the season started, you don't have a roster spot. You have to go out and earn it. And he came in the offseason, didn't miss a day of offseason workouts, put in all the time, and he became a great leader for this football team.
Throwing the long ball. Incomplete. Intended receiver Joe Horn, and Dale Carter was there. So Kansas City, despite facing a 3rd and short, hoping to catch the Denver defense napping. They did not. They'll punt.
And Joe Horn had a step. This ball's just a little bit underthrown. He had a step on him, but Elvis Gerback threw into double coverage. But an outstanding play by Dale Carter. Hey, I used to practice against you, Elvis. Don't try that on me.
Daniel Pope, his 5th punt of the day, and Pope gets this one off cleanly, sending Watson back to the 25. Watson has some running room in front of him. Watson is brought down at the 44-yard line, and a flag comes down. Lonnie Johnson came in. Well, they call it a late hit. A 47-yard punt, 19-yard return, and another penalty may cost Kansas City.
That is definitely a late hit by Lonnie Johnson, and he could have held back on this play. He waits to the very end until the return man's down,
Personal
and then
foul,
he nails him.
Unnecessary roughness, 83 of the kicking team. 15 yards, 1st down.
So it would have been good field position without this hit.
And right, I'm sorry.
There's
right
Lonnie Johnson.
He's right there. Pull up.
No need.
Pull up.
Watson is down. He is clearly down, and Johnson, who was inactive last week, and that was a bit of a surprise, as Gunther Cunningham made that call. He put him in uniform on this Sunday, and Johnson's still upset. I can guarantee you Cunningham will be upset if he already hasn't given him a piece of his mind.
That's just a ridiculous play that cost your team, but they've been rotating Mitch Jacoby and Lonnie Johnson. When they want to throw the ball a little bit more, they have Lonnie Johnson in the lineup, but if they want to run the ball with blocking, they have Mitch Jacoby.
Look at the field position of the 42, and it might improve as a flag comes down. Handoff. Olandis Gary getting to the outside, and a 1st down run for Gary. 10 yards. And as mentioned, the penalty marker.
And talk about an intelligent play by a rookie, Ian. He saw the flags, didn't give up on the play. He kept going until the play was over.
Dan Williams on the right side of that defensive line for Kansas City.
Offside, 92 defense. Penalties declined. 1st down.
And it is Williams. Doesn't matter because Gary was able to rip off that run of 10 yards.
And right there's Dan Williams. He jumps a little bit early, but Orlandis Gary on this play just outruns the defense, runs through tacklers, and he has a lot of power. He's not a real big back, but he has power at 210 pounds.
First down for Denver since the first drive. Here's Greasy. Plenty of time, but he wants to run it. Greasy moving forward to the 30-yard line, and give him a gain of 1 on the play. Did a lot of work to get just 1 yard as Donnie Edwards got him down low. Clock is moving, 3:48 to play, first half. Got that field goal on the first drive of the day, and since then, it has been all Tom Ruin. 3 and outs the rest of the way until this drive.
And lucky for them, Tom Ruin is probably going to have a career day the way he's putting the football.
Call it a 2nd and 9 now from the 30. Gary and Griffith in the backfield. That's Gary, the motion man. Greasy will throw. Fires and caught. McCaffrey sidesteps 2 tacklers. McCaffrey looking to go the distance. He's brought down by the shoelaces at the 5-yard line. Reggie Tong made the touchdown-saving tackle. 25 yards, Greasy to McCaffrey.
What a nice job of Brian Greasy of hitting Ed McCaffrey in stride. Goes back, reads, looks no place else but McCaffrey. Slant pattern right across the middle, and there's McCaffrey making more out of the catch. Always get positive yardage after the catch. McCaffrey on the outside, he plants, boom, goes to the inside. The ball's there when he's in stride, and then he just dodges the Kansas City defense, the tacklers.
2 injuries, though, following this play. Chris Dishman of the Kansas City Chiefs is now walking off the field with his helmet off. And there is a Denver Bronco that remains on the field at the 34-yard line. That's Matt Lepsis, the right tackle. So we'll step aside. Lepsis being helped to his feet. Twirling forward across the 5-yard line. And Jerome Woods making the stop for Kansas City. They exchange pleasantries after he picked up a couple, maybe 3, depending upon the spot. So Eric Warfield has checked in for Chris Dishman, who left with the injury, and Trey Teague now in there at right tackle for Matt Lepsis.
And this play should have been a loss. He must have learned the straight arm from Ed McCaffrey because he just dishes the defense, and it should have been a loss on that play, a major loss. But he just kept running with the football, knocked down a couple of Kansas City defenders, and picked up 3 yards on the play.
2nd and goal from the 3. Lepsis returns for Denver. Broncos looking for the lead. Handoff, Gary moving ahead into the end zone. Touchdown, Broncos. Olandis Gary with his 5th rushing touchdown of the season. The rookie scores, and the Broncos have regained the lead.
Just following the blocking up front, he finds the tunnel. The left side does a great job of creating a cavity for him. Schlereth over there. Trey Teague is in there. They get a good push on the defense, and running back Olandis Gary finds the tunnel, leans in for the touchdown.
Jason Elam on for the extra point. A 3-yard touchdown run for Olandis Gary. And Elam tacks it on. Denver with a 10-7 lead on Kansas City with 2:11 to play in the second quarter. Olandis Gary and Terrell Davis having a little chat. Davis certainly knows what that feeling is like getting into the end zone.
Not a bad teacher out there, and both of them are Georgia guys. But to the left, look at the blocking to the left over here. Howard Griffith leading it on the inside, but Schlereth just takes Tom Barton, pushes him back into the pile. Good seal off on the backside by Dan Neal. Outstanding blocking on the goal line. Alex Gibbs, their offensive line coach, cut him down on the backside, push him in on the front side.
So the Georgia running backs making their mark in the NFL. Herschel Walker back in the 80s. Tim Worley got to the National Football League. Rodney Hampton, a great career with the Giants. Garrison Hurst still playing. Davis, of course, with Denver. Robert Edwards, unfortunate occurrence. Edwards on the beach in Hawaii, and Olandis Gary now with the Broncos. And the amazing part, a 4th-round draft pick. Davis, a 6th-round draft pick. And both have been successful.
What do they put in the water in the Peach State? Whatever it is, the running backs down there are drinking a lot of it.
So Olandis Gary puts Denver in front at the 2:11 mark of the second quarter. And despite not playing a great first half offensively, Broncos have done enough to take the lead. Kickoff from Elam. Vanover from the 1. Here's Vanover trying to go wide side. They'll try to use that speed. Flag comes flying in, and Vanover bunched up at the 10. Broncos claim they have the football.
Runners down by contact.
Down by contact, so the Broncos celebrating for naught.
And that'll be a penalty on the return team for Kansas City. But here's the key. Tamarick Vanover has to follow his blockers. He can't try to make something out of nothing and go across the field to play. He's not going to pick up blockers one, and he's going to make his teammates commit a penalty because they're going to have to turn their body to try to get their blocks.
Mark, there's no doubt that Vanover is pressing. Gunther Cunningham has put pressure on him the last couple of weeks, and Vanover is trying to do something extra, and in doing so, at least on this play, he hurt his football team.
There's one thing about Gunther Cunningham. He tells his players up front, if you don't do A, B, and C, you're not going to play for me. And if you continue to not do it, you're not going to play for my team, period, and you're not going to be on this football team. He told that to Tamarick Vanover, said, you've got to run the ball with more determination, force it into the hole, follow your blockers, and make something happen, or I'm going to replace you.
So it is a hold against Kansas City. Vanover was on the right side of the field and then cut it back left, wide side.
44, the receiving team, while the ball was in the air, the penalty is declined. First down.
Eric Warfield on the hold. It has been declined as we hit the 2-minute warning. Here at Mile High, Olandis Gary has given the Broncos a 10-7 edge. Injury updates: Chris Dishman, head trauma. His return is questionable. And Joe Horn, wide receiver, left knee injury, also a questionable return. Kansas City now trailing 10-7 with a 1st and 10 at their own 13-yard line. Gerback on a handoff, pushing the pile forward and picking up some yardage. Tony Richardson. They got 5. Coming up, the NASDAQ halftime report, Jim Craig Raylor. He was slow to get up. And Paul Grassmanis will come in and take his spot at left tackle for Denver. 1:46 on the clock. And a timeout has been called. Denver with just 1 remaining. Kansas City has 2. You know, in the AFC West, everybody's a rival, but everybody hates each other, too. We talk to these guys week after week, and we did the Kansas City-Oakland game last week, and there's just a lot of derision when you talk to these players and coaches. There's respect, mind you, but there is also some emotion going back and forth.
Some teams will respect. When we talked to Gunther Cunningham, he said the rivalry between Oakland, it's like a dark rivalry. This rivalry is a rivalry, but it's fairly clean because they both respect each other a lot. Not that they don't respect the Oakland Raiders. They respect this team because they're such a great football team. Offense, defense, special teams, and plus, they're defending world champions.
On a 2nd and 5, Gerback looking to throw it under some pressure, and he gets it off to Andre Rison, just shy of the marker. He picked up 4. They needed 5. And again, some words exchanged. This time it looked to be more in a playful manner. Timeout has been called. Taking the timeout, they have none remaining. Kansas City. Line of scrimmage is the 22.
Ruling on the field is being challenged by replay.
They are checking the completion on the last play. Again, this is not a coach's decision with under 2 minutes to play. This is the decision of the officials in the booth here at Mile High. So just as Elvis Gerback was about to get the snap, that's when Ron Blum stepped in. So the referee will take another look, as will we.
And that's the only time that I really disagree with review. At this point in the half, less than 2 minutes, this team's driving, trying to create some momentum, and it's not the officials on the field. They call it a reception. Let's move on with the play. But somebody that's not on the field to play, they're upstairs, says, hey, stop the game. Let's take a look at this.
Well, the one point that you'd have to make, Mark, also is we were told by NFL officials that they were going to target big plays. Big plays. They weren't going to waste time on what might be called just another play in a game. It was ruled complete during live action, and the officials are now taking another look at it. So it's under review with 1:36 to play here in the 2nd quarter. Andre Rison, the receiver, came up shy of the 1st down. It's 3rd and 1. And if it's not 3rd and 1, it'll be, I believe, 3rd and 5. Tough to tell.
And it is. And I think the human element should always stay a part of this game. The officiating crew's doing a great job of keeping the flow and the momentum going. If this is what they call it a completion, let it go. if it's going to be one of those situations where we can't determine if it's the call or if it's not, it's just a waste of everyone's time.
This is not a big ticket play. Now, they were talking about touchdowns or long passes down the sideline or fumbles.
But this isn't one of those.
So Ron Blum has seen enough and will give us his determination.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands. The completed pass. Third down.
Down and 1. I'm shaking his head, not necessarily because of that, but because of the scoreboard. 10-7 Denver. Kansas City seemed to have a flow going offensively. But
that's why he's upset, because it kind of changes their momentum. It really shuts them down a little bit.
Inside handoff. First down and then some. Tony Richardson. Richardson is spun down. Just shy of the 50, and Richardson has a 26-yard gain. That is now his longest run ever.
And Tony Richardson running through the teeth of the defense. A great job by the middle three of the offensive line, getting the block in the middle by Romanowski's Will Shields. He follows the blockers in the middle. When you've got a fullback that's this big and powerful, give him the quick hitter, hit the line of scrimmage. The defense just doesn't have time to react.
Kansas City has used a timeout. They still have one remaining. Denver has run out of timeouts, and the line of scrimmage will be just short of the 48. 6 carries, 52 yards for Richardson. That is the best rushing yardage total he has ever put up in a game in his career. Richardson now playing in his 5th year out of Auburn, a free agent.
Nine, it's almost like dealer's choice for Gunther Cunningham and offensive coordinator Jimmy Ray. Let's give it to Donnell Bennett. No, let's give it to Tony Richardson. No, let's give it to Mike Cloud. No, let's give it to Bam Morris. It's tough for the defense to key on one running back.
Minute 27 left. First half. Gerback in the pocket. Good protection. Gerback underneath. It's Richardson. And Tony Richardson gets collared from behind at the 45-yard line of Denver. Bill Romanowski making an aggressive play, and that's a word that will be used to describe him even when he has finished his NFL career. He picked up 7, Richardson did, and the clock is moving. Gerback under some heat again, and he throws short to Derek Alexander. Gerback got hit. Richardson got forced back as well.
Outstanding pressure by the defensive front one and by linebacker Glenn Cadrez on the blitz of putting pressure on Elvis Gerback. He didn't have time to set, to look down the field, plant his feet, and throw the ball.
It'll be a 3rd and 3 coming up. And also coming up, the NASDAQ halftime report. Jim, Craig, Randy, and Jerry will get you caught up on all the scores and highlights. That's the NASDAQ halftime report. From the 45, a 3-receiver look for Gerback. They need 3 for the first down. They've got that and a little bit more. Derek Alexander ducks out of bounds at the 29-yard line. So Kansas City getting 16 yards on that pass play, moving into field goal range for the tie. Obviously, with 55 seconds left, they're thinking about taking the lead heading into the
points, but Elvis Gerback has found something. First it was Joe Horn going after Torrey James. Now it's Derek Alexander. Torrey James is giving up too much cushion on the outside. He's giving them the outs, he's letting them break, and then he's reacting. He's reading and reacting instead of reacting to the ball first.
First down from the 29. Bennett is in the backfield. Denver on a blitz. Gerback, couple of pumps. And he was able to get away with it as Gerback took a shot in the backfield. Maha Tanuvasa came firing in.
He got nailed on both sides. Tanuvasa on one side, Cadrez on the other side. Glenn Cadrez right there with the helmet, but I think Elvis did a pretty good job of acting on that. That wasn't a really nasty hit. It was just one of those hits where he threw the ball and he took the hit.
7-play drive. It's taken up a minute and 18. 53 seconds remain. This would be about a 47-yard field goal attempt for Pete Stoyanovich, who won the game last week in Oakland with a 44-yarder. 3 receivers set. Gerback will throw. Getting to the outside, Tony Gonzalez. It will be a modest gain. He picked up 3, did get out of bounds. David Bones chased him down, and the clock is stopped with 48 seconds left.
That's an easy pitch and catch for Elvis Gerback. Go to Tony Gonzalez. When a linebacker has him in one-on-one coverage, there's no way they're going to cover, and you can pick up an easy 6 or 8 yards. I think they're going to realize that the closer they get inside the red area. You've got to go to Tony. You've got to go to Tony as much as you can. His 4th catch, 27 yards. He also has a touchdown. He's the playmaker in the red area.
Line of scrimmage is the 26. On 3rd and 7. Late stages, second quarter. Gerback rolling out of the pocket, throwing on the run, and throws it away. Neil Smith was the man chasing him. And Pete Stoyanovich will come onto the field to try to tie this game up with 41 seconds to play in the first half. A 43 or 44-yard attempt, depending upon where Daniel Pope, the holder, sets up.
And Neil Smith hustling on the play, but Elvis Gerback does not have to run out of the pocket. Only 3 rushers on the play. He runs out to the right, tries to make something happen. It makes it an easier rush for Neil Smith, but he hustles after the play to make the play defensively.
43-yard field goal attempt. Stoyanovich looking for the tie. Bangs it up. And through. Knotted up. 10-10 with 36.
Hunters a lot because they're not out there practicing and taking the brunt of the blow like everybody else out there getting knocked around. But he says Stoyanovich is the type of guy that he breeds confidence around him. Last week against Oakland, he goes over to players and he says, hey, take your pads off. You don't need to go back in there. Tells Dishman and some of the other players, I'm going to make this field goal. He goes to Gunther Cunningham before the kick against the Oakland Raiders, the game-winning kick. And he says, don't worry about it, Gun. I'm going to make it. I'll drill the field goal. And he did.
He did. A 44-yard field goal last week, with no time left to give Kansas City the win, 37-34 over Oakland, and to keep them in this playoff chase at 6-5. And certainly the Chiefs have interest in what's happening out on the West Coast today with Oakland and Seattle. A loss from the Seahawks and a win for Kansas City, and it's a 1-game difference for the division lead. Chris Dishman told us yesterday, we still think we're winning this division. Stoyanovich on the kickoff. Chris Watson from the 15. Watson finds a lane, and Watson is tackled from behind at the 40-yard line. Mike Meslowski making the play after the 26-yard return, but Denver still has time on this clock. 30 seconds to play until we hit halftime, but they have no timeouts. So they'll have a couple of cracks at it here as they'll try to set themselves up for a long field goal. Playoff picture in the AFC. Jacksonville, Indianapolis, both looking very strong now. Late stages of this 99 season. Seattle at 8-3 and question marks about them. Tennessee with that loss to Baltimore earlier today, and that is damaging for the Titans. Buffalo is off today, and Miami with the loss to Indianapolis. They have come back to the pack. Quick throw on the slant to Rod Smith, and Smith able to make the catch as he was dragged down shy of the first down marker, 7 yards through the air. Clock is moving. 18 seconds to play. And Greasy will spike it with 17 on the clock. And they'll face a 3rd and 3 from the 47.
In that situation, if I'm Brian Greasy, I take a shot at a quick slant. You're in a situation where you waste it down on 2nd down. You need to get yards. You need to get at least field goal range. And right there, you waste the play. Take a shot at it downfield. You've got to throw the ball over the top. I guarantee they take a shot at Ed McCaffrey. He's the only one that's come up with big plays offensively for the Denver Broncos.
As we know, Jason Elam's career long is 63 yards. That tied an NFL record. Here's a throw. And complete. Rod Smith brought down inside the 20, but the clock is moving. 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 2 seconds. Denver without any timeouts, and they cannot set up. Trying to spike the football, 1 second left. And that's it. The long completion to Rod Smith. But they could not stop the clock, and Greasy will continue to plead his case with Ron Blum to no avail. First half has come to an end. Kansas City and Denver tied at 10. Let's go down right now to Marcus Allen. Marcus.
Hey, Coach, with the exception of the last 2 drives, you guys have been relatively stagnant on offense. What are you going to have to do to sustain some drives and put more points on the board?
Well, you're exactly right. We've got to do is get back in the flow. We started out good. We had a good drive there at the end. They've done a pretty good job in field position of keeping us on.
Kansas City will kick it off. Chris Watson is the deep man for Denver, and he fields from the 3. Here's Watson. Trampled down at the 25-yard line, 21-yard return. Moments ago, Marcus Allen caught up with Kansas City head coach Gunther Cunningham.
Hey, Coach, 7 penalties for 65 yards. The Broncos really haven't stopped you. You guys have stopped yourselves. What are you
we're not keeping our poise. You know, we're getting some stupid penalties and making some errors. I told them, keep your poise. Everything's falling in our laps. Let's just go play.
Okay, good luck second half.
All right, Marcus, thank you very much. And you'd have to agree on that. A lot of penalties on Kansas City. Held them back offensively in the first half of action. Part of the reason why this game is all tied up. Tied at 10 with 14:52 to go as we start play in the third quarter. Stepping forward, Greasy throwing to the sideline, and it is caught by Howard Griffith. And he is brought down right around the 30-yard line. It picked up 5. Take a look at the halftime stats with things all tied up, and talked about the penalties. 7 of them, in fact, for 64 yards, costing Kansas City. Time of possession, it was all Chiefs, 17-24.
They did a nice job of holding on to the football, and this is the key. Boom, no turnovers for each team. It's been a clean game as far as that's concerned.
A lot of handoffs straight ahead, and not much room to work with as Olandis Gary tried to carry it through a hole. Just a 1-yard gain. Eric Hicks making the stop, setting up a 3rd and 4 for Denver. Chris Dishman is back for Kansas City, experiencing some head trauma in that first half of action. But Dishman, who had a fumble return for a touchdown and an interception return for a touchdown last week, and he told us that's the first time that has ever happened to him over the course of his life, let alone his NFL career.
Not only that, he said he didn't do anything. He was in a zone. The ball came right to him, and then he was running down on the field to play, following the play along. The ball's right on the ground, so he picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown.
Rod Smith couldn't hold on to it on a slant pattern. Eric Warfield had the coverage, and Denver will punt to start play here in the third quarter.
And Eric Warfield's a guy that they talk about routinely. Kurt Schottenheimer, the defensive coordinator, says that he could be a starter in just about any team in the league. He's really come on in his second year, and he patterns himself after James Hasty. And each game and each week, he gets better and better at that cornerback position.
So Kansas City will get the football after the Tom Ruin punt. A high punt, and again, he gets all of it. Vanover from the 18, trying to cut it back. And nowhere for him to run. Nate Wayne, backup linebacker, came over on special teams to hold Vanover to a 2-yard gain. A 51-yard punt from Ruin, who is having a lot of fun here at Mile High this afternoon. Kansas City's first possession on the offensive end. City defense did the job to open play here in the second half. Now they're looking for the offense to do some damage in a 10-10 game. First possession of the third quarter for the Chiefs. It's a handoff for Bam Morris. And he picks up 2. Glenn Cadrez making the tackle. No turnovers in this game that we have seen yet, Mark. And with this Kansas City defense, they've had at least 1 interception in each of the last 10 games. That ties the longest streak in team history back in 1986. They've been so opportunistic at +17 turnover ratio, which is tops in the NFL. Here in a 2nd and 8, Kerr on a blitz. Throws it low and incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 8 for Kansas City. And Denver was looking for a penalty on the play of intentional grounding as Trevor Price applied the pressure.
And no one blocked Trevor Price. That's why he got through the middle of the line unscathed.
And there's the flag. A late flag, about as late as you can find. And Ron Blum explaining to Elvis Gerback.
Intentional grounding, number 18 offense, loss of down, 3rd down.
Trevor Price coming right through the middle. No one blocked him. They fanned to the outside of the offensive line. No one picked up Trevor Price in the middle. And that's just miscommunication on the offensive line. You block big on big. You don't turn a big guy in the middle of the field loose and let the quarterback take him.
Cost them 12 yards on the penalty as Gerback was throwing to no one, just trying to get rid of the football. And a give to Donnell Bennett, emerging through a hole, but still comes up well short of a first down. He crossed the 20, the original line of scrimmage, and he picked up 12 yards. Tyrone Braxton making the tackle, but after that penalty, Kansas City is forced to punt it away.
Good push in the middle. It's a set draw for the offensive line. They blocked the defensive front in front of them, and they found a way to gain positive yardage in the middle between the tackles. They're not going to the outside. They have not enough speed to get to the outside with their big backs. They're pounding the football between the tackles and that big interior line of Zott, Grunhard, and Shields.
Daniel Pope, a high punt, and now he's getting in on the act with long punts today. Here's Watson trying to turn it to the outside, and Watson is swallowed up at the 30-yard line. Mike Maslowski made a terrific play coming along to hold Watson to a 9-yard gain. A 48-yard punt. Kansas City and Denver. Temperature right around 40 degrees here in Denver today. Kansas City and the Broncos tied at 10. Shannon Sharpe, who was out for the season with that collarbone injury, but he's still doing a lot of talking on the sidelines in civilian's clothing. Handoff to Orlandis Gary, cutting it to the sideline. Gary angles himself to the first down marker, chased down by Woods. 11 yards on the run, and a first down for the Denver Broncos. He got across the 40-yard line.
Shannon Sharpe, just because he's not playing, they put him on injured reserve. Do you think he's going to quiet down? I don't think so.
Well, he hasn't qualified for the All-Pro team this year because he didn't play in enough games, but I can tell you that he will qualify year after year for the All-Pro chatting team.
The debate team.
Oh, there's no doubt. Pro or con, he'll take either side. On 1st and 10 from the 42, setting it up for Gary. Gary able to create some space for himself and get out to the 49-yard line. He picked up 7. Well, the weather is getting colder, but the divisional races, they're heating up. A complete review of every team as they battle for playoff positioning. Just click on NFL at cbs.sportsline.com. Orlandis Gary held in check in the first half. His Kansas City defense did an outstanding job last week against the run in their game against Oakland. Gary now with 10 carries, 45 yards. That was his first catch for 7. Greasy moving this team and moving them into Kansas City territory. The catch made by Rod Smith at the 35-yard line of the Chiefs. He was matched up with Hasty. That's a 15-yard pass play.
And a tremendous job of Rod Smith using his body to gain position. Brian Greasy before the game was working on in patterns, slant patterns, getting rid of the ball. That's where he feels more comfortable, throwing the ball in the middle of the defense. And right here, just steps up in the pocket, completes it for Rod Smith for the first down.
4 catches, 62 yards for Smith, who goes to the sideline. He's replaced by Travis McGriff. Greasy, good numbers here, early stages, 3rd quarter. On a handoff, Griffin, Howard Griffin, getting out across the 25-yard line. And a first down for Denver. Griffith, whose reputation has grown through the years, and rightfully so. He has had a very solid NFL career in his 7th year.
Howard Griffith is a complete football player, not just a blocker. He's been known to be a heck of a fullback, and you can see some of those running backs he's blocked for 1,000 yards every year except 2 in his career, blocking for some great running backs. But he is a force to be reckoned with when he gets the football. He will not go down on 1 or 2 tacklers. He'll keep his feet moving.
On a 1st and 10 from the 23, Smith has returned for Denver. Broncos are on the move, off the bootleg. Greasy has plenty of time, throws across his body to the end zone and intercepted. Picked off by Chris Dishman, taking it out of the end zone and tackled down at the 8-yard line. Greasy took a risk throwing into double coverage. He was looking for Rod Smith, and a turnover, the first of the afternoon.
And KC keeps their string going of getting those turnovers, those interceptions back to back to back. But this play is set up perfectly by Brian Greasy and Orlandis Gary. The defense goes for the fake because they've been running the football. It's an open boot. He reels out. He's got time. Derek Thomas drops off, but he throws the ball into double coverage, and therein lies the problem. And Chris Dishman makes a heck of a play on the football.
You wonder if the sore shoulder affected him. Dishman was on his feet and looked to make something more of the play. Might have been better off just taking a knee there, taking it back to the 20. Instead, line of scrimmage is the 8, and they try the running game with Donnell Bennett for no gain. Well, this is nothing new for Chris Dishman. The difference this week, he didn't bring it back for a touchdown. Last week, against the Oakland Raiders, Rich Gannon had it intercepted by Dishman, and he returned it for the score. In addition to that touchdown, he got another. Darrell Walker left it on the grass. Dishman, heads up play, scooped it up, took it down the sideline for 6 more. On a 2nd and 10, stick with the running game. It's Bennett working his way through a hole up the middle as he got ahead to the 17-yard line, and he picked up 8. Grunhard and Shields giving some good blocks up front for Bennett to work with. It'll be 3rd and short.
Not only that, Lonnie Johnson, the tight end, coming in motion from the wham position, did a great job. Got 3 blocks on that play, springing it open for the ball carrier.
Kansas City's defense has at least 1 interception in each of the last 11 games.
They went through a dry spell for a couple of games, but they really picked it up the last few weeks.
Inside handoff, looking for the first down. They've got it. Tony Richardson got ahead to the 22. And now they're using up some clock here with a long drive. That's what Kansas City has been looking for. Establishing that ground game and setting things up that way to maybe stretch the defense and hit on a big play down the sideline with one of their deep threats.
And what they want to do is they want to get that defense to step up, those linebackers and safeties to step up and get nose trouble and respect the run. Then they're going to throw the ball deep with play action pass down the sideline.
That running back by committee has continued for Kansas City. Horn in motion. Handoff for Bennett. Running in between the tackles, and Bennett is able to squeeze through a hole for 4 yards. He got ahead to the 25. Bill Romanowski making the tackle.
One thing about rotating their running backs for Kansas City, it keeps them fresh. None of these players should be tired. Every time they touch the football, it should be 110%. Gunther Cunningham knows that. That's why he keeps rotating them. Pound them with the big backs on first and second down. Then put Mike Cloud in on second and third down and hope to spring a big one.
They've gotten off 48 total plays on offense. Denver has been limited to just 33. Off of the fake, Gerback. Here's the deep ball. Open man, it's caught by Horn. And Joe Horn able to make a move and move forward to the 45. 20 yards through the air, Gerback to Horn.
And Denver's had a lot of problems of keeping their feet in the ground. Here on the outside, Dale Carter has him one-on-one, but as soon as Joe Horn makes the move, he slips. They slipped a lot today. They have to go back to the sidelines and check their cleats and put in longer cleats, but Joe Horn just makes a simple in move. The defense stays away from him. They slip, they bump, they bumble. He catches the ball, first down. Jimmy Ray, the offensive coordinator, he knows how to attack the defense. Pound them in the middle, soften them up, get them to step up to respect the run, and then throw that football in play action.
29 passes for Kansas City, 20 running plays, and a timeout has been called by Kansas City with a 1st and 10 at their own 45-yard line. Deadlocked at 10 with 6:52 to play in the third quarter. Chiefs have been able to mix it up with the run and the pass. Gonzalez sets up as a receiver to the wide side. Play action, Gerback. Locked in on Gonzalez. He's throwing to the sideline. Gonzalez, a lunging attempt. And a catch is made. They rule it a catch inbounds at the 38-yard line of Denver. Gerback was locked in on Gonzalez from the second he took the snap. That's good for 17 yards.
When Elvis Gerback gets in trouble, he's going to find Tony Gonzalez, but this is an outstanding job of tight roping the sidelines and catching the ball, but I don't think that's a catch.
It is not a catch.
They want to hustle and get to the line and run the play.
No, but Ron Blum's not going to let them. It appears as if Denver will challenge. And a good challenge at that. That was one of those questionable calls, and that can change the rhythm of a drive.
Denver is challenging the ruling on the field that it was a completed pass.
Kansas City was trying to snap it quickly, hoping to jump the gun here and get it in before Mike Shanahan questioned the call. Here's another look at it. Gonzalez. That's 1 foot, the left foot. Never looked like he got the right foot, and maybe even the left foot you can question as he's tippy-toeing.
You're right, that's not a catch, but it's a heck of an effort by Tony Gonzalez of even catching the football in that position.
On live action, I didn't think it was a catch. And I paused to wait for the official's call, and
both of them said it was a catch.
Pretty surprised that they had ruled in that manner. It's fairly obvious that he is not going to be given credit for the reception. And they will back it to the 45-yard line and a 2nd and 10 back in Kansas City territory instead of a 1st and 10 at the Denver 38. Quick review by Ron Blum.
After reviewing the play, the player didn't get 2 feet down in bounds. It's an incomplete forward pass. It's 2nd down and 10 yards to go on the 45-yard line. Denver is not charged with timeout.
So the coach's challenge by Mike Shanahan works.
And that's when the system works and works the right way. First of all, they got the replays, they got to the sidelines, the official looked at it and said, hey, this is definitely a mistake, let's change it. That's the way it's supposed to work.
And he didn't waste any time. He wasn't looking at 6 different angles. He was looking at the angle that he needed, and it was clear on the first angle. Did not get the feet in bounds. So instead, it's a 2nd and 10 from the 45 for Kansas City. No catch for Gonzalez. Clock is at 6:32 remaining in the third. Morris in the backfield. Gerback on a short rollout. Quick throw. Catch made by Lockett. And he's brought down at the 46-yard line, right around the marker. If they give him a gain of 9, they'll need just about a yard to get the first down. Down to the Denver 46.
I'll tell you what, Donnie, that's about the 8th defensive back and Ray Crockett, or the 8th time today that I've seen a defensive back for the Denver Broncos slip when a wide receiver from the Kansas City Chiefs has made his move, planted and turned towards a football. They need to check their cleats on the sidelines. That's why you have a equipment manager. Here's the slip right there again. Another completion to Lockett.
This is a 3rd and less than a yard. Handoff. Bennett has the first down, and he is brought down in a crowd at the 37. Donnell Bennett just keeps on coming. All 245 pounds of him.
And not only that, did you see Will Shields? Watch number 68. He's going to pull around on this play and pull around, get a block right there. But at the end of the play, when Donnell Bennett's going down, he makes a pop. Bam, right there. There's an extra 4 yards. That's an all-pro blocking at the end of the play.
It's about 321 pounds of force pushing that pile ahead and, yeah, squeezing out probably 2 extra yards on the play. So now the line of scrimmage is the 37. So forget about the Gonzalez incompletion. They've gotten that yardage back. The play clock winding down. Little razzle-dazzle for Joe Horn. Trying to high kick it. Horn able to turn the corner a bit, but did not get the kind of yardage that play is designed to garner. Dale Carter was able to chase him down to the outside. He picked up 5, maybe 6 on the play.
And Big Will Shields is going to pull out. Watch this. He can't hesitate. He's got to go for the block. And 321 pounds against 184 speedster. Come on, Will, get on the bicycle. Get going, get going. He makes the block, but it's just too late. If he gets out in front and makes that block, Joe Horn picks up an additional 10 or 12 yards.
Now, Joe Horn ran the 100-yard dash time at 10.39. That's world-class speed.
And Will Shields runs it in 19.3.
I was really going to ask if you ran it during your day. We'll get to that another time. Donnell Bennett sidestepped one tackler, but Denver was prepared, and Neil Smith back on the field for the Broncos, able to make that play. So the Denver defense trying to tighten things up a bit with 4.5 left in the 3rd quarter. No scoring yet here in the 2nd half. 10-10. The Broncos and the Chiefs in a very important game for Kansas City, trying to stay in the hunt, not only for a playoff spot, but for the divisional title in the AFC West. 3rd and 4 for Gunther Cunningham's team. 11th play of the drive. 3 receiver set. Gerback will put it on the ground. Donnell Bennett has the first down. Got out to the 21-yard line, and maybe Denver was caught off guard, thinking pass on 3rd and 4. Kansas City goes to the ground game.
And this is just smash mouth football. Donnell Bennett right here. Here's the blocks right there. Will Shield gets a little push and goes on a linebacker. 320 pounds on 250 doesn't mesh, but smash mouth football between the tackles. When you pound a defense into submission, it really takes its toll in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Bennett has 65 yards on 10 carries.
Bennett has been the guy here today for Kansas City, running the football. Gerback off of play action. He's got time. Throw it to the end zone. Intercepted. Picked off by Coghill. And the Chiefs give it back. Kansas City began this drive off of a turnover. And Coghill has returned the favor for his first interception of the season.
And this is just a poor throw by Elvis Gerbach. 1, he throws it too deep, and 2, he had all the time in the world to complete this pass, and he did not.
Line of scrimmage will be the 20-yard line for the Denver offense. 1st and 10 for Denver, taking over after the interception and a quick completion. Greasy finding Rod Smith for a 17-yard pass play, and Elvis Gerbach made the decision to throw into double coverage. Who was he throwing to is the question mark.
And it's a poor decision. Both linebackers blitz. It's all picked up by the offensive line. He gets good protection up front. Bam Morse to the block right here. Both tight ends, but over here, there's only one wide receiver in the route. If there's only one wide receiver, if he's not open, throw it away. 3 defenders right there in the blue jerseys from Denver were around the play. Bad decision by quarterback Elvis Gerbach. Interception, Denver Broncos.
Intended receiver was Derek Alexander as Olandis Gary got the call, and a flag down on the play. It's holding, and it's coming back. So that wasted a long drive for Kansas City.
Holding, 89 offense, 10 yards, repeat first down.
And I'll tell you what, it's demoralizing for an offense when you move the ball all the way down the field and get no points out of it. And it was a situation where they could have gotten points out of that drive, and they should have gotten points out of that drive, but just a poor decision turns the ball over.
Elvis Gerbach 1 and 2 as a starter against Denver. He was thrown to his old college teammate, Derek Alexander. Both went to Michigan, as did Brian Greasy. And Alexander was a senior when Greasy was a freshman. We asked Brian about Derek. He said, hey, he wouldn't talk to me. He was a big man on campus. I was a lowly freshman.
As it should be.
Well, Greasy eventually, though, won a national championship for the Wolverines. Greasy got some time. We'll set it up for Gary. Olandis Gary able to move ahead to the 35-yard line, and they picked up 8 yards on that screenplay. Hasty with a tackle. NFL Today report right now. New York and Jim Nantz.
All right, I and my partner Craig James said the Raiders would win in a blowout today, but look out, here come the Seahawks within 6 in the 4th quarter. And let's go back to Ian and Mark.
So Seattle is making a charge against Oakland, a game of interest for both of these teams, but especially Kansas City as the Chiefs try to remain in contention for a postseason berth in the AFC. 2nd and 12 now for Denver. Greasy makes the connection. Howard Griffith is spun down after a 4-yard gain, and he comes up just shy of the 40-yard line. James Hasty making the tackle once again. AFC West standing. Seattle enters action today. 2 games ahead of the Chiefs at 8-3. The Seahawks are. There's Denver at 4-7. Chiefs are a game and a half behind Buffalo for the final playoff spot in the AFC entering play today. Now Miami is in that same boat. Buffalo idle this afternoon.
And the key to this, I've played 13 years in the NFL. Take them one at a time because you don't know what the opposition's going to do in your competition. If you go out and do your job and win your games, everything will take care of itself.
3rd and 8. Here come the Chiefs on a blitz. Throwing. And the catch made, or was it, by Billy Miller? He juggled the football and could not bring it in. It would have been short of a first down. And Denver is punting.
And it's still strange to me, all the Denver Broncos that are slipping on their own home field. Usually, if it's an away game, you slip and slide. You should know your own home turf, and that's a problem for the Broncos. It's cost them some big plays in this game.
Tom Ruin averaging over 56.5 yards per punt today. Tamark Vanover waits, standing at his own 15. Wow. Another one from Ruin. Vanover had to backpedal, had an opening, but was tripped up. He got across the 20-yard line, and Jason Moore made the tackle down low after the 53-yard punt. Chiefs take over on Overs. We are tied at 10 here in Denver with the Chiefs and the Broncos under a minute to play in the 3rd quarter. Kansas City will get the football back. They have been rotating the left tackle position with Glenn Parker and John Tate. And Tate now gets the nod, the rookie out of BYU. He will play on this series. Drive. And off Morris. Spilling his way ahead across the 25-yard line. Cut down by Coghill after a pickup of 2. Coming up Monday on CBS, celebrate the holidays with today's hottest stars in an all-new special. Ricky Martin, Celine Dion, Gloria Estefan, and more. The all-new And So This Is Christmas, Monday on CBS. 2nd and 8. From the 26. Morris remains in the backfield on 2nd down with Richardson. And this is Richardson getting the carry. No gain on the play. Al Wilson, the first man to greet him defensively for Denver. And an injured player maybe slow to get up on the field.
Center Tim Grunhart is down.
So Grunhart trying to do a push-up to get himself to his feet. And it'll be Jeff Smith checking in for him once they're able to get Grunhart to the sideline. Now at his 10th year at Notre Dame, he's been a mainstay on this Kansas City offensive line. 2nd-round pick back in 1990, and Gunther Cunningham loves his style.
And not only his style, today's his 108th consecutive start. He's a hard guy to get out of the lineup. He's one of the guys that you hang your hat on and you count on and you rely on. And he's going to be missed on this offense. And he's having a heck of a year. They're talking about a Pro Bowl year for Tim Grunhart this year because he's doing a fabulous job of handling nose guards and blocking defensive tackles one-on-one.
Still looking for his first Pro Bowl. And Grunhart limping his way to the sideline. End of the 3rd quarter. Chiefs and Broncos all tied up at 10. We'll come Denver, Kansas City, and the Broncos tied at 10 on a pitch out for Tony Richardson. And Richardson is spilled out right around the 34-yard line. Had to get across the 34 to get that first down. It will be very close. On a 3rd down and 8.
And a nice job getting out in front and laying out a block was rookie John Tate for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's an outstanding job of a rookie of circling out over the perimeter, running downfield. That's the reason why they drafted him #1. 6'6", 315 pounds, but can run like a deer.
They run the football on a 3rd and long. Was it the right call? Yes. A new set of downs for Kansas City to work with, and we spoke with Tate yesterday. We asked him, who were some of your heroes? He said, well, Anthony Munoz and the Hogs of Washington.
And the bad thing is, our producer, Victor Frank, goes to me, you know, you used to be that big once. You look like that,
Was
Mark.
that true?
At one time I was. I was about 315.
Is it true they made posters of you and the Hogs?
Oh, yeah. I still sell them. I'll bring you one next week. I'll even sign it.
No, thanks. I'll stick with the real thing. In the pocket, Gerback throwing across the body, and the catch made by Andre Rison. Inbounds, even though the Denver fans think that he was out of bounds. Right near midfield. That's 15 yards. Gerback to Rison. And once again, Kansas City is moving the football.
And a nice move on the outside by Andre Rison. That's reading the route. It's a deep out pattern, a 15-yard out. That's the strength in the arm of quarterback Elvis Gerback delivering the ball on time.
Was he inbound?
It's another close call on the sidelines. Has the ball. 1, 2. Oh, perfect job of tight-roping the sidelines. That's perfection. Fabulous job by Andre Rison.
That is a catch. Mike Cloud in the backfield. The rookie makes his move through the middle. 4-yard gain for Cloud as he crosses into Denver territory. Glenn Cadrez got him down low to make the stop. It'll be 2nd and 6 from the 47 of Denver. And Cloud had told us he remained patient, but he said he went through a similar situation in college where he didn't see a lot of time as a redshirt freshman. Then somebody got injured, and he got his chance late in that year. Very similar situation here because of injuries to Rashawn Sheehy. Cloud got his chance last week. Now it's Bam Morris. And Morris gets 5 yards on the carry. Bill Romanowski, the linebacker, making the tackle. Morris, Bennett, Cloud, Richardson. Take your pick. They're all carrying the football today.
And they're all doing an outstanding job of protecting the football. No turnovers, no fumbles, getting positive yardage and getting first downs. But here's an area you've got to start going back to Tony Gonzalez. You softened up the defense enough. Get the ball to the big tight end and get a big play out of your offense.
3rd and 2. What does Jimmy Ray decide to do on a 3rd and short? In motion, Joe Horn. On the ground, Bennett working his way in. A flag comes down. He's got the first down as he is forced to the sideline right around the 36. We'll see what the penalty marker is. It's against Kansas City. At least that's what Denver thinks. And it is. So instead of the first down for Gunther Cunningham's team, they're going to have to go out and earn it on a 3rd and long.
And this is an enormous penalty.
65 offense. 10 yards. Repeat 3rd down.
Jeff Smith filling in for Tim Grunhart, who was injured earlier in this drive. Kansas City penalty number 9, costing them 86 yards. And that one, as you just said, Mark, incredibly costly.
And right there, you saw the leg whip come over right over the top, tripping up a defender. You can't do that. That's illegal. But if you want to attack this offense, you better attack the center because he's cold. He's only been in a few plays.
Gerback floats it upstairs and over the head of Andre Rison on 3rd and long. Kansas City is forced to punt. These two teams playing at a standstill here in the 4th. 10-10, 12:28 remaining.
And that's a big gamble by Elvis Gerback. You're tied up right now. You've got good field position. Don't try to force the football. It's time to play smart football. You're under pressure right here. Throw the ball away. Throw the ball away. Don't make a ridiculous mistake. It almost cost this offense. You almost get sacked. But here is a situation where you've got to play sound football in the 4th quarter.
David Bowens, the backup linebacker, stuck with him. And another punt from Pope. Taking a bounce inside the 5, rolling around, and Kansas City able to control it. Right around the 2-yard line after the 49-yard punt, Ron George able to cover up. Joining you from Mile High Stadium, they will play another season of football here, the 2000 season, and then move into a brand new stadium that they are building just adjacent to Mile High Stadium in what was once the parking lot here. And that will be ready for the 2001 NFL campaign. 12:16 to play in the 4th. Greasy throwing from his own end zone and completing. Howard Griffin. He is forced down just short of the first down. Looks to be about a yard short as he picks up 9 on the pass play. Next Sunday, the playoff race rolls on, and the NFL on CBS is there with regional games. Many of you will see Drew Bledsoe and the Patriots try to rebound against Peyton Manning and the Colts, while others will see Dan Marino and the Dolphins take on Curtis Martin and the Jets. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area, beginning with Jim, Craig, Randy, and Jerry on the NFL Today. Looking for the first down, Olandis Gary is forced back. See where they give him forward progress. Jerome Woods with a stick, the free safety. And I don't think it's enough. Had to get to the 14-yard line on a 2nd and 1.
I believe it looks a little bit short, but that's the first time today Jerome Woods made a tackle one-on-one on Olandis Gary. He's owned him the entire football game, stiff-arming him, running over him, running around him.
They'll extend the chains and see if Denver has enough for the first down. They do not. Inches. 61 rushing yards today for Denver. Compare that to 160 for Kansas City, the most rushing yards they've had since the first meeting between these two teams back in week 2.
I'll tell you one thing, Lion, you do have the eyes of an eagle. To call it that short, that close.
Nailed
you got that.
Thank you.
Bingo.
Thank you. The glasses, they don't hurt.
But here's the situation. Quarterback Brian Greasy, make smart decisions. Just get the first down, move the chains. Even if you don't score on this drive, at least you get field position for the defense. Don't make ridiculous errors. Don't turn the ball over. 1 for 8 on 3rd downs. This is a key down for them to pick up the first.
3rd and inches. On a handoff. First down. Olandis Gary. Out across the 23-yard line, and Gary, who is a rookie on this team, and when you're a rookie in the NFL, your teammates may pick on you, and it happened to Olandis Gary earlier this week. On Friday, the veterans on this team, during a snowstorm, told him to go out and sing and dance in just his sneakers, and Gary was more than happy to go through the rookie ritual and almost spilled out in the snow as well.
Earning your stripes as a rookie. It's great to see they still have a sense of humor at 4 and 7.
12 carries, 55 yards. Greasy, a deep drop. Throwing to the fullback, Griffin. And a flag comes down. Appeared to be a late hit. In the backfield, the flag was thrown right around the 11-yard line. So a good play, Greasy to Griffith, and there might be some more yards tacked on. There will. They picked up 8. And the personal foul has been called.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. 98 defense. 15 yards, first down.
Eric Hicks, in his first year as a starter, has just given Kansas City their 10th penalty of the day, costing them over 100 yards.
He's had a very quiet day. That's the first time we've called his name, good or bad, but unfortunately bad for Eric Hicks. But you've got to concentrate. Ridiculous penalties like that, late hits on quarterbacks, plays like that will cost you a game.
Line of scrimmage is now the 45. Gary trying to cut it to the outside. He was forced out of bounds by James Hasty, but he picked up 4.5 on first down. And the Denver Broncos with a chance to possibly take a lead in this game in what has been a tight one. You saw the Oakland-Seattle score, 27-21. Seattle trailing in that game, and the Seahawks currently leading the AFC West by 2 games over Kansas City. The Chiefs offense, nothing they can do right now except watch from the sideline. Here's a 2nd and 6. Hicks explaining himself to the coaching staff on the sideline after the penalty. Greasy, he's got time, throwing over the head of Rod Smith. You're not to say that this is a tryout for Brian Greasy, but Mark, in chatting with Mike Shanahan, you got the same feeling that I did, that it's no guarantee that Brian Greasy is going to be the starting quarterback next year unless he shows this team something in the final 5 games of the campaign.
And he really needs to pick it up. But here's the key. Chris Miller's out with a concussion. Bubby Brister's the backup. They really don't have a quarterback that right now that can go in next year. There's Bubby Brister that can be the starter unless Brian Greasy's the guy. Mike Shanahan said he's got the utmost confidence in Brian Greasy, so he's got to prove it.
On 3rd and 6, Rod Smith trying to accelerate forward, and he is short of a first down. Donnie Edwards making the tackle, and the Kansas City defense has held. Denver will punt. Bubby Brister in the news this week. He is listed as number 2 on the depth chart today, and local columnist wrote a story citing a source within the Denver Bronco organization. and specifically the coaching staff, an anonymous source, that Bubby could not pick up the offense, that he was not sharp enough, bright enough to pick up this intricate offense. And Brister, of course, took exception to that, but could not find out who the source was. Ruin got a little too much on that punt as it sails into the end zone, and Kansas City will have it after the 47-yard punt, but a net of only 27. 10-10. Well, the Kansas City offense isn't smoking, but apparently the defense is. That's Leslie O'Neal. In a 10-10 ball game, Kansas City in desperate need of a win, hoping to stay alive in the playoff race. And even 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Gerback on a give for Mike Cloud, and nothing for him to work with. He picked up a couple as he got it to the 22. Tackle made by Cadrez and Grassmanis. Well, the Colts and Dolphins upgraded their defense with Chad Bratsky and Brock Marion, respectively. See their impact only on NFL.com. Clock is moving, 8:34 to play in the fourth. Richardson is now in the backfield, has come up with a career high of 64 yards rushing today. He'll add to that total, but not by much. He has spun down after a pickup of 2 by Monte Rieger. He's the rookie out of Texas Tech.
The offensive coordinator, Jimmy Ray, for the Kansas City Chiefs, is playing very conservative at this point. I still think you've got to go to your tight end, Tony Gonzalez. He's such a key factor in this game. They haven't gone to him in an awful long time in this ball game. Now you're in a situation in 3rd and long, and you're going to have to stretch the defense to pick up big yardage to get first down. But if you go to that tight end on 2nd down, it opens up the offense enormously.
This is a 3rd and 6. Crowd getting into it. Gerback throwing complete. Derek Alexander, but the play is waved off. Looks like illegal procedure as flags came down.
Before the snap, false start, 62 offense, 5 yards, repeat 3rd down.
It's Glenn Parker called on the false start. Kansas City, 11th penalty, 106 yards. This was a major theme a year ago for this Chief team when they set an NFL record.
And there he is. He's got that kickstart going just a little bit earlier in that rocking chair stance, and he moved just before the ball sniffed.
And it cost them a possible first down. Now it's 3rd and 11. This crowd getting vocal. Gerback on a quick throw. Catch is made by Gonzalez, trying to force himself forward. It will not be enough. Darius Johnson, he's stuck with Gonzalez. 8 yards. They needed 11. And Kansas City is going to punt with the clock moving, 7:15 to play.
And what a wonderful job by Darius Johnson. 5'9", 185 pounds against 6'4", 250 pounds Gonzalez in the open field, one-on-one. He goes for a little bit of a ride, but slams him down into the grass. What a great tackle by Johnson.
If he breaks that tackle, it's a first down for Kansas City. 8 punt for Daniel Pope. Line drive punt. Taken by Watson. Watson trying to turn wide side. Watson with a flag down, and flags coming everywhere. He's forced out of bounds at the 45. 53-yard punt. A 25-yard return. One flag was thrown right around the 27-yard line, back where Watson was returning, and the other was thrown on the other side of the field. We'll see if it's offsetting.
I know one thing. If you're a punting aficionado, Jace, right here, if you got both punters, Tom Ruin, Daniel Pope, have done an outstanding job placing it down deep inside the 5-yard line or 10-yard line when they had to, and booming them for 50 or 60 when they had to get the distance.
I'm curious, though, how many punting aficionados do you know personally?
At least 1 or 2. They're retired now. They're in retirement.
Yeah, I know one, and he's a former punter.
They're all
exactly. Here's Ron Blum.
Legal block in the back above the waist. 23 of the receiving team. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Timeout.
Against Denver. The illegal block that helps spring Watson free. No points have been put on the board in the second half. Chiefs and Broncos all tied up at 10-10. Denver takes over on a 1st and 10 from the 17. And a handoff for Howard Griffin, helping to push the pile across the 20-yard line for a gain of 6. How important is this game for Kansas City? As we take a look at the playoff picture, you see Jacksonville and Indianapolis dominating their respective divisions. Seattle, though, their lead, it's tenuous right now, 8-3. Kansas City is 6-5. And Seattle and Oakland doing battle right now with the Seahawks trailing the Raiders. Gunther Cunningham has told his team, forget about where you stack up in the playoff picture right now. Just keep on winning games. Flags come down. Greasy, maybe on a free play. It's caught by Smith. And he's brought down at the 35. It's a first down for Denver if the play stands. They picked up 11. Against Denver, it's coming back.
Illegal shift. 87 and 29 were both moving prior to the snap. 5 yards, repeat second down.
McCaffrey and Griffith, respectively.
And you have to look at this offense for the Denver Broncos. Here's a situation where Mike Shanahan has to go back and look at his stats. In the first half, all Ed McCaffrey. 3 catches, 66 yards. 0 in the second half. In the second half, they've been going to Rod Smith. Here's a time Ed McCaffrey's been one-on-one. When you have a receiver that's 6'4", that's one of the better receivers in the National Football League, one-on-one on the outside, throw the ball to him.
There's McCaffrey in a matchup with Warfield. Greasy, some pressure, flushed out. Greasy throwing on the run. Smith had it and then took a lick. Jerome Woods, the free safety. Incomplete.
Smith had Marcus Patton one-on-one, had him beat deep in his own, but great coverage by Jerome Wood coming over the top, putting the lick on Smith. That's NFL football.
So Jerome Woods may have just cemented what would have happened anyway. It looked like on that replay Smith did not have it cleanly initially, but Woods made sure. Now a 3rd and 9. 4 receivers set. Greasy. Quick throw. Rod Smith trying to work his way ahead. And Rod Smith had to get across the 27-yard line. He needed 9. It will depend on the spot. For those of you expecting to see 60 Minutes, you are watching the NFL on CBS. Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. Ian Eagle along with Mark May. These two teams tied at 10 and 10. 60 Minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast and the Mountain Time Zone. So it is measurement time for the Broncos. Will this drive continue, or will Denver be forced to punt? On the reception from Rod Smith, he made it happen, but didn't get enough. 4th down Denver with 5:22 on the clock. And the ball spotted just shy of the 27. Bronco fans urging Mike Shanahan to go for it. Not going to happen where Denver is situated on the field.
In this situation, you would think you would get good field position, but the way Ruin's punting the ball today, I don't think that can happen. In this situation, 4 and 7, the Denver Broncos, why not go for it? Realistically, you're probably not going to make the playoffs. At least line up and make a fake attempt at it and try to draw them off sides.
Well, they sent out the punting unit. Tamarick Vanover is waiting, standing at his own 24-yard line. Ruin has had a huge afternoon punting the football. Came in averaging 45.5 yards per punt. Today, he is well over 50. Snap from Teague. Ruin laces into this one again. Vanover from the 20. Vanover cutting it back. Breaks a tackle to the outside. Tamarick Vanover crossing midfield down the sideline. Vanover looking for 6. Tamarick Vanover is gone. Touchdown, Kansas City. An 80-yard punt return for Vanover. Cunningham has been waiting for the big play, and it could not come at a better time for the Chiefs.
2 things on this play. 1, Tom Ruin out-punted his coverage. There's no one close to Tamarick Vanover. 2, it's a great return by Vanover, following his blockers, making the right move once he got by the first wave, and then outrunning the pursuit of the coverage. Here, take a look at it right here. There's the first wave. There he makes the move to the left. Now it's a race. You're off to the races. It's a speed race. Picks up some blocking down the sidelines. There's no way a lineman's going to catch him. The punter can't catch him. Touchdown, Kansas City Chiefs.
Detron Smith had the best chance to bring him down and was unable to do so. Cunningham and Vanover. But a botched attempt. A botched attempt on the point after. Ball is free. Running with the football, but it's not going to matter. It was ruled down back at the 30-yard line. Daniel Pope could not handle the snap cleanly. Pope was the holder and then looked to throw the football afterwards. He, of course, is the full-time punter.
It's a good snap. He just didn't have a handle on the ball.
So he was forced to improvise, and that's what you get. 16-10. Kansas City 16, Denver 10. After a play that may haunt this Chiefs team for a very long time, depending upon the outcome. Kickoff, Stoyanovich. Chris Watson is brought down at the 27-yard line. Ron George made the tackle after the 16-yard return. To Mark Vanover, his third career punt return for a touchdown, his first in 2 years. But here's the extra point.
Now, come on, Pete, get a block. Get a block, Pete.
No.
Not going to happen. But it was a good snap. The holder could not get a handle on the football and get it down, and that's where the problem lies. Daniel Pope could not control the football, but the Denver Broncos did not give up on the rush. They came in, nailed him. The ball was out there loose. That's a good play by the special teams of the Denver Broncos.
So now Gunther Cunningham is asking his defense to go out and win this game. 1st and 10 from the 27 for Denver. 2 tight end set, Carswell and Chamberlain. Greasy looking to throw it on a blitz. Incomplete. Over the head of Byron Chamberlain. And the clock stops with 4:43 left in the fourth.
Now, Gunther Cunningham has this offense exactly where he wants him as an ex-defensive coordinator. He's going to put pressure on Brian Greasy. They've got the lead now. They're going to blitz from the outside with Hasty. They showed him the same formation earlier where Hasty got a sack on quarterback Brian Greasy. This time, Greasy gets rid of the football. But it's called pressure football. Make the quarterback the key on the offense. He's got to read the defense and get rid of the football, or he's going to take a licking or a sack.
Hasty nursing a calf injury. He's looked sharp here today. Straight ahead for Orlandis Gary, and he is stacked up after a pickup of 3. Donnie Edwards combining with Derek Thomas to make the tackle. And Bronco fans getting a bit antsy on the play calling of Mike Shanahan. Clock is moving. 4:24 and counting. It is a final in Oakland. The Raiders have knocked off the Seahawks 30-21. So a Kansas City win here would move them within a game of the division-leading Seattle Seahawks. 16-10, Chiefs in front. Greasy on a 3rd and 7. Greasy throwing, low throw, incomplete. Rod Smith could not bring it in, and the Broncos will punt. Let's get an NFL Today report and Jim Nantz.
And this was Seattle's last chance here, Ian. Kitna on 4th and 21 completes the pass, but it's 2 yards shy. Dawkins called it in, but the game is over. Oakland beats Seattle. Back to you.
So the Seattle Seahawks, their bubble has burst a bit. They have come back down to earth. And the Seahawks at 8-4, Kansas City with a chance to move to 7-5. Here's Tom Ruin. A wobbly punt. Vanover from the 28, trying to get to the outside. Can he do it back-to-back times? No. But a good, strong return for Tamarick Vanover of 22 yards after the 42-yard punt from Ruin. And the line of scrimmage will be right around midfield. Coming up tonight on CBS, 60 Minutes for 33 years. The very next words after "you're under arrest" had to be, by law, you have the right to remain silent. But that could all change. Find out on 60 Minutes. Followed by Touched by an Angel, then How Did Santa Get His Red Hat and Reindeer? You can find out tonight in Santa and Pete, a world premiere movie tonight on CBS. 1st and 10 from the 49. Donnell Bennett. He leaped in the air trying to get some positive yardage. Maybe picked up 1. Dale Carter on the tackle. Kansas City now looking to use as much clock as possible, get a couple of first downs, and a timeout has been taken by Denver. They have 2 remaining with 3:44 left in the fourth.
For the Kansas City Chiefs, all you want to do is make first downs. It's not going to be scientific here. Jimmy Ray, the offensive coordinator, line them up in a couple of tight ends, smash the ball between your offensive tackles, and try to get first downs out of this possession.
You tack on a field goal, though, and this game is probably over. Thursday on Chicago Hope, a gunman opens fire in broad daylight, and 2 doctors will risk their own lives to save the innocent, but one of them is about to be the next victim. It's an all-new Chicago Hope, and it's Thursday on CBS. Line of scrimmage is now the 50-yard line, and Jimmy Ray, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs.
The one in the middle there, Jimmy Ray. He's been accused of being a little bit conservative, but I think it's smart football. You protect the football, you stop him on defense, and you win football games.
Bennett waiting for blockers, cuts it back, and gets into Denver territory for a gain of 2, and Ray Crockett making the stop. Another Denver timeout. They'll have one remaining with 3:37 left on the clock and a 6-point disparity. You look at the Broncos, they started this season 0-4. They are 4-3 since then. 4 of their last 5 losses have been decided by 3 points or less. So they played pretty good football, but unlike last year and the year before and the years prior to that, they're not winning those close games.
For one, they don't have a John Elway. 2, they're without Terrell Davis. And 3, they've had a ton of injuries. But this team is not giving up the ship. They played games very close, but they're used to scoring a lot of points. And here you can see they haven't scored a lot of points this year.
Yeah, that has been the one huge difference. That high-powered offense has just not been there for Mike Shanahan. A new quarterback learning the system, Brian Greasy. Of course, no Terrell Davis, as you mentioned. And now their defense trying to make a stop. On a 3rd and 7, a pivotal play. Horn, the motion man. Keep it on the ground. Conservative play calling, and it crossed them. Donnell Bennett is dragged down by Paul Grass-Manis. A loss of 2. With 3:32 left in the 4th, Denver is going to get the football back and a lot of time on the clock to make something happen.
Penetration kills any running play. Paul Grass-Manis gets phenomenal penetration on the outside. No way in the world Donnell Bennett can get to the corner. He's got speed to get to the corner around the defensive lineman, but it's the defensive pressure and the interior push of Grass-Manis that gets the job done.
The Broncos have used their final timeout. They will have the 2-minute warning working in their favor. And they will get the football following the punt from Daniel Pope. Pope averaging just under 50 yards per punt today, a long of 57. Chris Watson, the rookie return man, stands at his own 10 in what is a 6-point game here in the 4th. Pope gets it off, sailing inside the 5. It will take a roll into the end zone and a touchback. Denver will have it first down from their own 20. 50-yard punt, but a net of just 30. 3:20 to play here at Mile High Stadium. Ian Eagle along with Mark May, our entire CBS crew in the 4th quarter. It has been a tight game. The only scoring we have seen in the second half was an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown from Kansas City's Tamarek Vanover. What's at stake for the Chiefs? A chance to move one game closer to the Seattle Seahawks for first place in the division, and also a chance to make up some ground on Buffalo and Miami for playoff positioning in the AFC. But the 6-point disparity is troubling to Gunther Cunningham. That's because they could not get an extra point through. Greasy throwing on a slant to Rod Smith. First down, Denver, down to the 35. He lost the football late, but he was already ruled down. They'll move the chains as time comes off the clock. 3:05 and counting. Smith has 8 catches, over 100 yards today, 106. Under 3 minutes to play. First and 10 from the 35. Out of the shotgun, Greasy avoiding the rush. Throwing. And Derek Loville has a catch and a first down for Denver. He crosses the 45. 11 yards through the air, the short toss. Kansas City back on their heels defensively.
The defense of Kansas City will give you everything underneath. They don't want to get beat deep, so Brian Greasy should be able to dump the ball off to his running backs the entire drive.
Greasy able to dump it off. It's incomplete. Marcus Patton with the stick on Loville.
Here's the question, Ian. I still think, why don't you go to Ed McCaffrey? He had a hot first half. They haven't even thrown in his direction the entire second half. He's been the player that stretched the defense, that came up with the big plays, and has come up with the big plays for this offense the entire season.
60 minutes is coming up right here on CBS. In a 16-10 ball game, Kansas City with a lead. Their defense trying to seal it with a 2nd and 10 for Denver at their own 46. 4-receiver look. Greasy, deep drop. Stepping forward, guns one to the sideline, and nobody's there except Kansas City defenders. It'll be 3rd and 10 with 2:21 on the clock.
And that's a situation where quarterback Brian Greasy, wide receiver Rod Smith were not on the same page. They go trips to the right, 3 wide receivers to the right, 1 wide receiver Rod Smith to the left. Well, the problem with that, they've got 2 defenders on that side. Throw the ball to the right where there are more weapons offensively where you can complete the pass.
Brian Greasy is 2-6 as a starter this year for Denver. A few weeks back, he could barely lift his arm. Now he faces a 3rd and 10. Firing over the middle. Incomplete. Knocked away. Eric Warfield with a tremendous play. Rod Smith, the intended receiver. Marcus Patton off the deflection. Tried to scoop it up for the INT.
Outstanding job of anticipation right there coming over the top. The ball was there before he got there, but he timed it well to put pressure on wide receiver Rod Smith. But still, Brian Greasy looking at 1 wide receiver. He's taken the rest of the offense out of the field. They're one-dimensional. The field's cut into thirds. He's only using 1/3 of the field.
And now Denver doesn't have a choice. They go for it on a 4th and 10. They have run out of timeouts. 2:17 to play. Can Kansas City make a stop? Greasy stepping forward, airing it out, and incomplete. There's McCaffrey trying to get involved, but Denver turns it over on downs. And Kansas City, with 2:12 left, has a chance to put this game away, leading by 6.
And this has been a phenomenal game to watch. A great rivalry between 2 teams with a lot of pride and a lot at stake in this football game, coming right down to the wire. Gunther Cunningham, the head coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, has done a great job of keeping his players aware of the entire situation and all the implications of this game, fighting for their 100th victory, trying to get to the playoffs, continuing their winning games, and continuing their pursuit to get to the playoffs.
The only time the clock will stop is the 2-minute warning. And it is coming up. Tony Richardson taking it up the middle. 2 minutes to play in the 4th. Kansas City with a 16-10 lead on Denver. Chiefs looking for their 100th win in the 90s.
Yeah, let me get this straight. Yes. Are you actually saying I don't have to pay you a separate commission every time I trade a stock?
Exactly.
I'd pay an annual fee instead.
Right.
Is anyone getting this?
We don't pay you a commission every time we trade. What's your motivation?
It's just like always, Ann, your best interest.
Could you just...
Okay, you're serious. You're quitting smoking and you're taking your best shot. So you should know what Nicoderm CQ has that the store brand patch doesn't. CQ gives you 3 steps to gradually reduce your dose. Store brands don't. CQ lets both heavy and light smokers step down.
But then we started to realize the lotion actually gave us a closer, smoother shave than we expected, without the nicks and cuts of blades. Our fear diminished, our hopes arose, and life got a little less hairy.
Come on, babyface, move it!
The Norelco Advantage. It's guaranteed or your money back. Norelco, put it to the test.
When it's really cold outside and you get that craving for something really hot, remember Wendy's Spicy Chicken Sandwich. It's seasoned with Dave's own blend of pepper and spices.
And they make nifty hand warmers.
Castrol GTX 10W30 provides maximum protection against both viscosity and thermal breakdown. Because if your oil breaks down, what's next? Castrol GTX. Drive hard.
You have the right to remain silent.
Don't be too sure. In some states, you don't. The Supreme Court in Miranda, tonight on 60 Minutes.
Kansas City with a 16-10 lead, trying to run out the clock and a 1st down for the Chiefs. And this game is over, a 2nd and 3. Brian Greasy's last-ditch attempt to Ed McCaffrey on the sideline on a 4th and 10. It was incomplete. Chiefs took over. Inside handoff. Tony Richardson pushing the pile ahead. And Richardson has enough for the 1st down. That's it. 1:49 left. Kansas City can run out the clock. Let's check in. NFL Today update and Jim Nance.
Just had another game go final, Ian, and it's Jake Plummer for the 11th time in his young career leading the Cardinals to a 4th quarter comeback. The plunge from a yard out gives Arizona the win. Its 4th straight victory to even its mark at 6-6. Let's go back to you.
Arizona getting back into the playoff race. And Gunther Cunningham's team. A well-earned victory, and they win it with special teams to Mark Vanover, an 80-yard punt return. Gerback takes a knee as time trickles away on Denver. 60 Minutes is coming up next, except on the West Coast. Right here on CBS. Under a minute left. Just one more play for Kansas City. Take a look at the standings, and the Chiefs improve to 7-5. Denver drops to 4-8. The Chiefs, amazingly, just one game behind the Seattle Seahawks for first place in the AFC West.
And just 3 weeks ago, everyone was handing the division over to the Seahawks. Now they've come back to the pack.
Final play. Gerback takes a knee. After suffering through a 3-game losing streak, Kansas City has rebounded with back-to-back victories, and they have gotten themselves right back into the playoff picture. Kansas City with the win today over Denver. They improve to 7-5. 16-10 is your final, and Tamarick Vanover was the difference on an 80-yard punt return for a score. Cunningham and Shanahan.
Rise of another